All right, here we go. Break time battles. Battles that happen, Andrew, during the break. Perfectly named. And we have Fernando, our winner this week, up against Rockstar, who, if you don't know, he's a guy on YouTube.
Yeah, Rockstar guy on YouTube. You'll see him a lot on Twitch. And, you know, this should be a fun one. I'm excited to see how Rockstar plays today.
Well, Ice Golem so far from both sides. My favorite card, if any of you want to ask that in the chat. If you've ever asked what's Rich Slayton's favorite card, Ice Golem. The answer every single time. It looks like Rockstar going 2.6 now. Question, Andrew, do you think it's 2.6 for real or nope, it's not? It's going to be Balloon.
Yes, sir. Here it is. Minor Loon going to the right side. Goblin Hut offset a little bit to the left. Is Ice Golem really your favorite card?
Yep, 100%.
I love that.
It's the answer I give every time. Actually, it's so much my favorite card that you could almost say I hate every other card by comparison.
That seems quite a radical stance to take, but you know what? Fernando's Musketeer connecting on the right-hand side here with that Graveyard coming in. Big-time shots there.
Whoa!
Great timing. Oh, I cannot wait for that Graveyard nerf to come in.
Rockstar had a good job. I mean, look, you saw the Goblin Hut played, and Rockstar took advantage of the Goblin Hut being played low and to the side, and that really seemed like it was going to be a big salvo, but you take a look at this, and Graveyard Musketeer, interesting, I mean, very common combination, and easy hits on the opposite direction.
Yeah, and talk about easy. This is going to be some easy defense, except for that Mega Minion getting away from the Balloon. Wow, Balloon connects. And Fernando actually going to go right back on offense. A little surprised there, but he does have those skeletons to tank.
Mega Minion gets mega lost there, so a huge connection on the right-hand side. 213, one of the area codes of the city of Los Angeles, but going to be tower down opposite direction. So Rockstar needs to get a little bit more damage on tower. Of course, the miner should make it easily. Andrew, prediction right now. Are we going to a two-tower game?
I think we go to a two-tower game, and then I think Fernando takes it in the two-tower game. I don't know why. I just got faith. Even though he has Graveyard, for some reason, I just have a feeling Rockstar's going to have a really hard time getting that Balloon to tower, but you never know. Graveyard usually isn't great in double elixir.
Yeah, that's
double tower, sorry.
And yeah, no, I know what you mean, because it's actually pretty darn good in double elixir. So I knew where you were. You didn't have to justify yourself to me, Andrew. Bomb tower on the left-hand side cleans up a fair bit of this. 2082 remaining on that tower. And again, the tiny snowman. Andrew, I love the Ice Golem so much that I've actually made multiple very short films about the Ice Golem.
Really? Really? I imagine he's had a troubled past when you think of how hardened his shell is.
Yeah, well, you know, it's lonely in the cold.
Here we go. Ice Golem coming back out. No loneliness here for that guy. Up high is the bomb tower to get on top of the Goblin Hut. I actually kind of like that. It's a +1 trade.
Yeah, real cheeky, but I mean, it's going to be more than that with the extra damage it did there. So really nice little... I might mess with that at some point in the future. Fun little maneuver. You know, the interesting part about this, Andrew, it isn't so much the difficulty that Rockstar's having getting on tower. It's more that even though he has the King Tower involved at this point, he doesn't have a great selection of cards to defend against graveyards.
Yeah, I think he needs to start cycling cards that he doesn't truly need on offense in the back, and then so he can start to pre-cycle those bomb towers down in the center of the map to just help with the defense, and then in turn turn these pushes, these counter pushes into something worthwhile.
Oh boy, Ice Golem in the pocket. A lot of damage coming in, poison on top of it. Fernando pulling ahead, turning Rockstar into a groupie right now.
Yeah, nice poison there on top of the tower, on top of everything down. Rockstar in trouble, not able to get this Balloon back on offense.
1245 to 1998. A decent year for movies, a pretty poor year for pop music. Man, I almost nailed that line.
So here we go, high bomb tower to set the line. Musketeer, though, going to make that easy to work through.
Final 45 seconds. A lot of work yet to be done by Rockstar, and you see Fernando just sitting on that Goblin Hut. We'll see if this is the spot right here. Snowball in onto the Miner, but oh, look at that. The Musketeer being pushed by the Snowball pushed the Miner away from the tower.
Yeah, Rockstar here he's not able to get Miner chip damage in, so he's got to go for Balloon hits, which is such an overcommit, so it's an easy, cheap Graveyard in the pocket for Fernando. And like you called it, Rich, there's that Goblin Hut just pulling that Balloon away.
He can cycle a lot right now, though. Miner should go right to that Musketeer. Turns around, doesn't even need to get on it. Oh my word. That Balloon trying to get there. Snowball trying to make some room. That Balloon's not going to do it, though. Death damage not going to be enough. poison. Oh my gosh, the death damage isn't enough with the minor hit. Rockstar is the king of our first break time battle. Nice work there, bud.
What a play. Sneaking the Musketeer in the pocket. Doesn't matter. Balloon Bomb drops. GG. Well played. 1-0.
Guys, that's our first break time battle. We'll be back with our next match coming up right in just a moment, and then see you here again. Poison trying to beat it out, and Jupiter King.
Massive for Pain Gaming.
Bola de fogo da conta do recado.
Get the rest of the defense off. Oh my word!
Perfeita.
4 in a row for Team Queso.
As we go into the penultimate weekend of the Clash Royale League West Fall regular season, we have two battles truly heating up. One near the bottom of the standings, fighting for that number 6 spot and a chance to make it to playoffs for this season. On the other side of things, 4 teams all fighting it out over the next 2 weekends to decide who gets an automatic berth to World Finals and a trip to Shanghai, China. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton, joining me, as always, my friend Andrew Guy, to talk you through the action here for the Clash Royale League West Fall season. Andrew, we open things up today with a big-time battle that might decide who gets that automatic berth. And then, of course, tomorrow, our current leaders, SK Gaming, face off against Cream Real Betis. A lot on the line in our Week 7 matchups.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy if you think about right now over in CRL East. The playoffs are underway. They're going to have their finals tomorrow, so things are ramping up here in the West as well. What's up, everyone? How you doing? Happy Saturday. I hope you're hanging out with us on YouTube or on Twitch. Make sure you're following us on Twitch and subscribed on YouTube. Most importantly, turn on those notifications. Maybe you drank a little too much Rage Potion last night. You're not up in time. Maybe you're caught underground. You don't know what time it is. You gotta turn those notifications on so you know when to be here. Only a few weeks left. You don't want to miss any of the matches. And of course, speaking of matches, there is always something at stake, some prize, some treasure, some loot, if you will. How about 250,000 gold and 100 gems? What are you guys thinking so far? It's now no more double headers. It's your 4 best players. They get 1 match, 1 chance every single week. The 4 players to get the most crowns are your heroes for the week. Those lineups got to be set. They better be set already. You can change them throughout the week, but they have to be set when we go live every single Saturday. Did you go Tribe? Did you go Queso, Rich? Because I'm sure you picked one player from one of those squads.
Yeah, this was one of the harder weeks to make your picks, right, Andrew? No more doubleheaders, so no more easy decisions going that way. And yeah, I did pick someone from Tribe and Queso. You can find out if you check me out on Twitter. I listed all my picks there. I'm sure you did the same. This is getting really down to the wire, Andrew. I mean, a lot going on this week. Of course, we are going to be heading into a new set of balance changes fairly soon, just announced today. And one of the big ones, and we'll see if finally this does change the card into a competitive card, potentially, E-Barbs getting a bit of a rework, bit of a buff here coming up in this next week.
Yeah, we won't be seeing any of those balance updates yet, especially during our break time battles. By Fernando is our winner for the week. Roger Lopez, we couldn't get a hold of you. Please reach out to us if you want to come and play against one of our pros. That slot is still available, but today it's going to be By Fernando against Rockstar, our good friend, content creator, and a pretty dang good Clash Royale player himself. Remember, break time battles, statsroyale.com. Top 50, get on those leaderboards. Top 5, get a little bit of swag. And usually the number 1, but this week, number 2 is going to face off against a pro or a big, big name in the community. Rockstar's a big friend of both of ours, but I know we both want to see him go down today. Rich, you were talking about it, and there's a lot of news going on. I talked about it at the very top of the show, saying the finals in the East are going on. You know, Nova eliminated FAV to put them in the 3rd place battle match, and then, of course, Pono 3-0'd WEDGM to also put them in that 3rd place battle. So it's going to be FAV and WEDGM for 3rd place, and then that leaves Nova and Ponos facing off for the grand finals over there in the East. Of course, those matches will be happening over the next 24 hours. I'm excited about them, but dude, You mentioned it. E-Barbs, your brothers, talk to me about these balance changes? Balance changes a little bit. I've been underground for a while. I'm sorry.
I know, it's the light's blinding you now that you've come up. It's going to be interesting. The Iwi is getting a little bit of a nerf. Very curious to see how that actually functions in the long term. Of course, Electro Wizard is so popular overall in the meta. It's one of the sort of the 3 support cards we're seeing the most between Hunter and, of course, the Fisherman as well. No nerf hammer on those 2, but a little buff to the Mini P.E.K.K.A, a slightly faster swing, so we'll see if that has an effect on some of the bigger pieces. And, of course, Andrew, the biggest news is Graveyard getting a potentially significant change to how skeletons spawn.
I think this is really big. Increasing the radius on that is going to make it a little bit less difficult to defend, and also maybe the poison will be something that isn't as easy to counter the Graveyard. We'll see how that fares, but I do believe it's going to be just more straight up of a buff. I think poison will be just as effective. Talking about our matches, we're going to start off with Team Queso versus Tribe. What different stories they've had. Tribe has been back and forth all season long. Team Queso has been riding Ruben, but in their last match, not able to get him in that W column. Chivas and Pain is our second match of the day, and then a big one here at the very end to really speak on playoff implications. That's going to be Spacestation Gaming against Dignitas. Rich, talk to me a little bit about tomorrow.
Tomorrow we open up with 2 teams from the bottom of the table. Misfits, our second place team from last season, defending world champions Team Liquid, both battling for pride more than anything at this point, and then rounding things out, one more playoff implication matchup. The current leader, SK Gaming, will have a chance to secure that top 2 spot against Cream Real Betis, which is in the mix, fighting for one of those 5 or 6 spots in playoffs.
So as we look at our predictions, I don't know how it happened, but I seem to have fallen into last place, tied with Bruno. I'm upset about it. I just don't really know what happened, but today we're basically all straight up down the line even, except Bruno picking Team Queso over Tribe, which is really interesting because Tribe has gone back and forth in every single one of their 2v2 sets. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They're technically on track for their pattern to be on the lose one. So maybe, just maybe, Bruno is on that and then thinking that Ruben can take things out in King of the Hill or 1v1 if they get there. I do have just a little bit more faith in Tribe, though, because it feels that their whole squad has been a little bit more consistent, Rich.
I'm a little surprised that Chivas and Pain was the one that was so easy, and maybe it's Chivas being out and Pain being on the upswing. I would have thought there'd been a little bit more disagreement on the winner from that one, but with the way Lucas and Wallace are playing together in 2v2, maybe not. So we start things off here with our first match of the day, Andrew. Tribe Gaming 4-2 as Team Queso starts their gauntlet. Tribe Gaming today, Space Station next weekend. Let's go.
Team Queso contra Tribe. La verdad es que Team Queso viene de una caída inesperada y Tribe viene, ¡boom!, en ascenso. Así que honestamente la veo muy complicada para los quesitos.
This is a big matchup for the battle at the top. We saw last week what happens when Team Queso loses Ruben early on and drops that 2v2 set. How will they fare today against a much more well-rounded Tribe squad who wants to finish in that top 3?
This one's basically an early playoff match. If Tribe Gaming wins, they have matchup over both Queso and Space Station, basically guaranteeing themselves a top 2 spot. Team Queso has to win both their remaining games if they want to secure a first round bye.
Queso e Tribe Gaming. A Queso foi destruída pela PEN no último jogo, vai tentar reverter os resultados, começar a lutar novamente para ficar bem na tabela. Mas a Tribe vem de vitória e vem com tudo contra Team Queso.
Team Queso contra a Tribe Gaming. A Team Queso saiu de uma derrota contra os brasileiros da PEN, enquanto que a Tribe tá na busca do primeiro lugar.
Team Queso's 4-match winning streak disrupted last weekend by the rookie squad of Pain Gaming in a straight 5-game sweep. A pretty nasty performance, Andrew. Yep. Team Queso feels like they have to get it going from someone other than Ruben.
Yeah, Benihoo and Kujiku really got to figure things out in that 2v2 set. And of course, IMJP, we've seen moments of greatness from him this season, but a little bit more consistency would be much appreciated for the cheesy ones. And of course, we've talked about him. Everyone's been talking about him since before the season and all throughout. Ruben, their star, has really been the reason that Team Queso has been a powerhouse force this season, where, as in their opponents, Tribe Gaming has been a much more balanced battle throughout.
It's been an interesting season for Tribe Gaming. They opened up 3-0, taking a look at their lineup right now. We really thought that they were going to make a big run, and then losses to SK and Cream Real Betis back-to-back, but now on a 2-game winning streak. A big part of that, of course, the performances of Buffmac and Jupiter King. 2v2 duo for Buff and Azelis has been up and down. Jupiter picking things up in King of the Hill, and then 1v1. Nice work for them. TNT also, of course, rounding things out in their King of the Hill lineups.
Yeah, Buffmax picked up 4 head-to-head wins in his last 2 matches. On top of that, a 2v2 set. And same thing with Jupiter King. He's picked up 4 head-to-head wins, including a 1v1 set, 4-1 over his last 2 appearances. So both of those guys, Rich, as you're mentioning, are very integral parts of the success of Tribe. So as we hop into this 2v2, guys, you'll see Benny and Kuchi bottom of your screen, Ban of Balloon top of your screen, Azilis and Buffmac, and this is going to be a really important set for both of these guys. As you said, Tribe going back and forth, but Benny and Kuchi with their awesome decorations just a little bit off step, off kilter all season long in this set.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that we saw about Pain Gaming in particular against this duo of Benny and Kuchiku, is that it looked like the rookies of Wallace and Lucas were playing a more veteran 2v2 pair than Kuchi and Benny, who've logged years of time together. So very, very curious to see if Benny and Kuchi can get back on track against Tribe Gaming, who this season has finally shown some cracks in the 2v2 armor. Of course, Buff and Azelis currently at 4-3 overall in sets on the season.
Yeah, you know, and I like that they're playing this double bait deck. Maybe it'll force them to be in better communication with one another, which then could, in turn, make them a better 2v2 duo. Great surround with the skeletons, pull with the fisherman. Look at that, Valkyrie completely untouched. It's early, it's not going to be a monumental moment, but it was a really, really nice interaction there in exchange for Team Queso.
You know, this is an interesting note here, Andrew, about Tribe Gaming's 2v2 duo, and I don't know if I've ever seen this before. They have a positive win rate and sets, but because they've won 2-1s and lost 0-2s, they have a negative win rate in games.
Wow.
So a really curious performance so far from Tribe this season in 2v2.
Yeah, and you know, it really is a testament to how odd it is for Tribe, considering how dominant they were in 2v2. I don't know if it speaks to them being off, or more so to the 2v2 competition just getting better all around.
Skeleton Barrel does not get much done on the right-hand side. Still, it is Team Queso with the lead, playing double bait. 1871 on that top right-hand corner, 2135 on the bottom, and here you go, 6-man split, so the second pair of recruits comes out for Tribe Gaming.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Kuchi and Benny end up dealing with this push when it does come in. When that win condition finally does come down for Buff and Azilis, you know, they've got the bomb tower there to help with the defense, help keep things at bay, but with their units being so soft on the back end that really help with that high DPS and that Dark Goblin and the Hunter, you wonder how it's going to fare when these big pushes start to make their way across.
Graveyard in, Prince gets pulled, and a freeze comes in on the side of Tribe Gaming, and that forces out a double drop there. Check that out, panic button hit by Team Queso, and now that Fisherman's going to be in front of the Mega Knight. This should be fairly simple defense for Tribe.
Yeah, you see that 6-man up high, Fisherman inside with the Skeleton Barrel. They're going to create a little bit of pressure, but yeah, that was just real tough. And you understand hitting that panic button, Rich, when you see a Prince on your tower, it is a nightmare and a half. So they drop the Fisherman, they drop the Mega Knight to stop the bleeding a little bit, but also dropping 3 extra elixir there.
Prince going to the right-hand side, so Valkyrie comes in front of the Dark Goblin to pick that one up. And now varying Goblin Barrel position in those right-hand attacks is Team Queso going to the back, now going to the front, defending the poison on the left-hand side for the Graveyard.
Trying to get that login, Fisherman pushing it away from that Dark Goblin, not quite successful. 840 top right to 1061 in the bottom left right now. Team Queso playing pretty well here, making Buffmac and Azelis really work for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit difficulty. They do have the 2 spells and the Goblin Cage, but there's one spell or one attack that's going to get through nearly every single time. You see Snowball, not the ideal. They should have log for this one, and no, they don't. So it's Buffmac and Azelis trying to defend with troops more than spells, and they're getting chipped away on the right-hand side.
Yeah, 543 remaining. Maybe that last card, that 16th card, is the Rocket or some other large spell. You wonder if it is going to come in or not. They go with another Goblin Barrel to just try to get damage on tower. You know they have Poison, you know they have Log, Snowball, and a last card, but what is it?
And so here we go. Freeze in early this time, which forces the Goblin Barrel on defense. That's really, really good for Tribe Gaming right now. They're getting a little bit more chip. They have to defend against this Goblin Barrel here, Team Queso, with a good chance to take it. Fireball in, Snowball in, a lot of damage coming down. The Skeletons do not connect. 125 remains on the right-hand side. If Tribe's going to get the win here, this is going to have to be it. Freeze in, Graveyard in, Goblin Barrel to the right-hand side. Is there any response from Tribe Gaming? There is not. Team Queso takes game number 1.
Really great triple drop there by Team Queso at the very end. Valkyrie plus Skeletons, Fisherman in the back. They mitigate all the damage, which is imperative if they want to try and take this game. We know they don't have a big spell. We know Poison's not in cycle. They got to get back around to their Fireball or get back around to some threat with the barrels. So they do exactly that. They take the game, and this is huge, Rich. This is exactly what Tribe wants to avoid. Azilius and Buffmac, negative in game wins, as he said, positive in set wins. They've been back and forth 50% all season. They are on track to lose right now, and they dropped game 1. Tribe could be in trouble.
I mean, look, if you have to face Ruben twice in both King of the Hill and 1v1, that becomes a really, really tall order. Of course, Tribe Gaming has their own stacked roster, and you can see just trying to make a little bit of room, but this was a tough matchup overall for Tribe Gaming. Team Queso played it very, very well, and you can see all the expenditure forced on the right-hand side, and then the counter pushes on that right-hand side as well. So, you know, Tribe having to make something out of nothing on the left while having to play rough defense on the right. Not much you can do there.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy, Rich, when you talk about beating Ruben twice in King of the Hill and in 1v1, when you go back and you look at the history of Ruben this season, he has not lost more than once in a game-winning shot situation. He lost in a 1v1 set against Javi. Otherwise, he's taken every single 1v1 set, and he's won when he needs to in King of the Hill to close things out. I agree, it is a set you must avoid. When you talk about someone that is that good in the final moments, you don't want to put him in that position. No one is that good in clutch situations.
Well, everyone's picking Tribe Gaming coming into today because they expect Tribe Gaming to win the 2v2. If they don't win that 2v2, this becomes a very, very different set of math. You do give Tribe the advantage in King of the Hill just because they have 3 top-tier players in King of the Hill, and Team Queso has Ruben, who's S-tier, I am JP, who it just depends on which JP shows up that day, whether he's a world beater or he's breaking out. And on the other side of it, you have Kuchiku as the last piece, who has gotten some important wins, but that advantage goes that way. But if Team Queso takes the 2v2, all bets are off because you know at best you face Ruben in the final set.
Yeah, you know, and after last match with Kuchi in that Royal Giant situation, it's a really tough spot. A lot of things were going on. He had his back up against the wall. He was trying to keep his team alive, but you don't want to have to rely on someone that's going to make that big of a mental mistake in that clutch of a situation. You know, that was an easy 3-tower game for him. Just a quick mental slip, and that's not what you want as your closer in King of the Hill.
Yeah, that will be interesting if we do end up getting there. Of course, 2v2 so far going the way of Team Queso, although if we talk about this 2v2 matchup, Tribe has won a lot of 2-1s. They've come from behind a bunch in 2v2, whereas on the other side of it, Benihou and Kuchiku have won a lot of game 1s and then been reverse swept after that. So this is a familiar place for both these squads, and consistently throughout the season, it's worked out for Tribe Gaming and not worked out for Team Queso.
Excellent King Tower activation there with the Snowball on top of the Goblin Barrel. Both of these squads look like they might be going back to the well. As you see double bait, bottom of your screen, top of your screen, probably going to be Graveyard once again.
Of course, an early King Tower activation does change some of that math for Tribe Gaming, both in helping against the Skeletons and against those Goblins. And we saw how often Tribe Gaming went to defending the Goblin Barrels with troops rather than spells. When you have those King Tower activations, it certainly does add to it.
And just a quick note for everyone at home, there have been some internet issues as well as coronavirus regulations that have impacted some of our players from being able to be on camera. So just a little note for you guys to be checking out. I believe Azilius is one of them, the first one of the day. Kuchi looks like his just went out. And then I do know that Ruben will not be able to be on camera. So just a note for you guys, we do know it will be those players at their devices, but just due to the world at hand, we might not be able to see them.
Mega Knight goes to the left-hand side to defend against the Giant Skeleton, and that bomb is going to do a lot of work there and take a chunk out of the Giant Skeleton, get Fisherman off the board. First minute 45 away, and it is, again, very similar to the first game. where Kuchi and Benny are significantly in the lead, but check out the power of this counter push.
I had a feeling that they were actually going to go to Royal Giant, Rich. I don't know why. I think it was just because of looking at the cards that they had, seeing those giant skeletons in there. For some reason, I just had a feeling that Tribe was not going to go right back to Graveyard solely, and now we see that Royal Giant Graveyard combination that's worked out okay. I do believe that the Balloon Graveyard combination has been more successful, but with Balloon being banned, it does make sense.
Well, Tribe Gaming has been one of the teams that more than others has leaned on the split win condition formulas this season. You know, we've talked a lot about how in the past you double up on win conditions because the supporting cards tend to lean and favor it, and then on top of that you play Graveyard once, they use their counters, you play Graveyard a second time when the counters are out of cycle. But Tribe has been sort of the leader in the West, at least in terms of going with the split conditions and using them in tandem.
I have to admit, that was actually really, really nicely defended here by Team Queso. I just wonder how many times they can do that perfectly. There were so many different pieces to make that work. The bomb tower up high, the poison low, the fisherman pulling the giant skeleton to the middle, the troops coming down up high in the Mega Knight. There was so much going on. It seems impossible to replicate time and time again, especially when we get into triple.
And Andrew, we just saw the value of that King Tower activation, defending the Goblin Barrel with the skeletons on the safe spot, high and outside, using the two cannons to take care of the inside and low Goblin on that left-hand side. So, ooh, easy expenditure, and wow.
What a great fisherman pull to that giant skeleton to pull to the opposite lane. Makes it so that all that put down on the left-hand side by Buffmac and Azilis ends up being a bit of an overspend defensively because that giant skeleton walks off into no man's land.
Valkyrie giving some fits and starts as well. Final minute 20 of sudden death overtime, and it's been mostly the Team Queso show. Defense has been pretty strong so far for the cheesy ones.
Yeah, Team Queso show indeed. Here we go, back on offense again. Goblin Hut or Cage has to be pulled out of cycle there to play some defense, and now we're getting a Brawler and an E-Wiz working down that right-hand lane.
Giant skeleton high, Royal Giant behind. We'll see how much they spend on the right-hand side for Tribe Gaming. 13:45 remaining to 13:70, and that Royal Giant connects and takes a very important lead with 45 seconds left.
You really like what Team Queso was going for there. It looked as if they were going to be able to keep that Royal Giant off the tower without having to use their building, but they got a little bit too fancy for themselves and then had to overspend on the back end. So what looked like a good idea in the beginning actually comes back and ends up hurting them, and now you can see the pressure being put on. There's not going to be a lot of DPS to get on top of that Royal Giant, and look at that fisherman pull, Rich.
Great fisherman pull. Mega Knight does get away. The Royal Giant trying to get past.
Wow.
It's the own skeleton bomb doing some defense, some traitorous defense in the opposite direction. And now a double skeleton barrel drop plus goblin barrel on the right-hand side. Snowball trying to play some defense. And it looks like Tribe Gaming is going to hold on and even things up, sending us to a third and final here in our opening set.
Yeah, really, really nice job on that right-hand side when you saw the double skeleton barrel come in, but they were far enough apart to where one building wasn't going to do the work, and the goblin barrel on the back end. So you saw they let the first skeleton barrel go by, they get the high goblin cage to catch that second one, and then they deal with the goblin barrel on the back end. Very, very well played by Buff and Azilis. I like the adjustment on their win condition. It made it much more difficult for Kuchi and Benny to kind of double down or keep them on the defense, if you will, Buffmac and Azilis, just because that Royal Giant plus Giant Skeleton Graveyard demanded so much elixir from Team Queso.
Well, two major factors here, Andrew, and one of them you mentioned in the opening moments, and that was the King Tower activation, the extra help on that side. But then the other big factor, it seemed like Team Queso or Tribe Gaming did a much better job of popping skeleton barrels early, using things like the archers in particular, and getting that to pop to not only control the skeletons, but also stop the death damage drop from those skeleton barrels.
Exactly, and what's really, really great about that is it's a nice even trade that you can turn into a counter push. Now, obviously, Buff and Azilis didn't really take advantage of that because they didn't need to. They had control on the left-hand side of the map, and they don't want to work into that bait. But it was just a really good situation for them. And now you can see, you know, we opened up this replay, these replays, if you will, with a great defense by Team Queso, but even in that moment, we were talking about how hard it's going to be to replicate that over and over and over. And as you see, Buffmac and Azilis start to kind of evolve their offense. They start to get their fishermen up higher to pull away the Mega Knight. They start focusing more on the Hunter. Just really, really well played and nice adjustments by Tribe.
Yeah, really, really nice work overall. And you saw an example there at the end, Andrew, of how valuable the Archers ended up being in Skeleton Barrel defense, pulling sort of a double duty on that one. So now here's, and again, we talked about this before our last game. This has been a pattern for Team Queso and a pattern for Tribe Gaming. When you talk about game number 3, do you give Tribe Gaming the advantage here?
I do give them the advantage just because of the numbers. If we look at what they've done over the last 2 seasons, or even last few seasons, if you want to take these players individually, it just doesn't seem like Kuchi and Benny have been operating the way that they've kind of been expected to since maybe even their debut season as a 2v2 duo. It seems like it's only been small steps down since then. But it's still Team Queso. It's still Benny and Kuchi. And if anything, if anyone has shown us that someone can do it on any given day, it is those guys. And it is Team Queso, and it is because of their support staff and how much they're committed to excellence. But if I'm just going by the numbers, I got to go Tribe. I got to go with my gut. There's the 2v2 set is the reason I picked them in my predictions.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned the time spent between Kuchi and Benny. We talked about this before, but in the first season of CRL EU, it was the Team Queso staff saying that they hadn't shown us their best 2v2 duo throughout the regular season, and at Worlds they busted out this pair, Kuchi and Benny. I really wonder what has shifted over these years. What has made it so that they are not performing as the secret best 2v2 duo that Team Queso was so hyped about back in 2018?
Yeah, you know, I really have to imagine it's just their competition has gotten better. You know, if you think back to 2v2 back in that inaugural season, it was just a ton of Lava Hound and a ton of Golem. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to be better than the players that you're playing against or the duos you're going up against, but when you have win conditions that are very much put down and then follow with a train, and let's hop into the last game here, follow with a train of units behind and just kind of see who wins those bridge battles and see who uses a better tornado. Now with the Fisherman in the game and so many other dominant win conditions, the double bait, double expo, Benny and Kuchi just haven't been able to keep up with the times, in my opinion.
So here we go, talking about keeping up. Double skeletons on the side of Team Queso, and we'll see if that's the same look for Tribe Gaming as well. So far, a lot of fast cycle cards. Looking like it might be a pretty wild battle here in Game 3.
Yeah, I like it. I really like to see that. I like to see high cycle in 2v2 because we all know that creates the space to have mistakes being made. So Earthquake out from Team Queso here. We'll see if they end up spell cycling throughout as you see this Hog Rider Giant Skeleton deck with Lumberjack. We know what this is. We've seen it before, but not happy to see that Fisherman and King Tower activation by Tribe.
Yeah, pretty simple King Tower activation, and it'll be difficult a lot of the way through for Benny and Kuchi to get one Hog Rider on tower. Of course, expecting they have 2. We'll see how both Mac and Azelia's plan to control the second one. Giant Skeleton pull deep, a defensive freeze. This one should do a pretty good job to clean up.
Yeah, I really like this defensive freeze. I think it's a really great situation to use it. It's obviously not ideal to have to show it early on, but when you talk about this push coming across the river and the best, most efficient way to deal, that's how you do it. Great job with the freeze. High Hunter log.
The only bit of curiosity I have, and you know, maybe there's a pro who'll be able to weigh in on this later, is the choice to have skeletons in both hands, right? You gotta wonder if for example, taking a look at Kuchiku's hand, if there was an option other than skeletons that would have provided more utility since you already have it on one side.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we know why the idea of it is there with the high cyclability and the very high DPS for very cheap, but yeah, you wonder if they might be giving too much value to one cheap spell if it's a double drop on those skeletons.
Baby Dragon to the left-hand side, a little bit of leakage on the Tribe Gaming side so far, a bit more than from their opponent's Team Queso. Hog Rider in, and the cage misses the pull on the Hog Rider, forcing another 6 elixir to be spent on defense.
Yeah, very frustrating moment there. Hog Rider gets a second hit in, a very crucial hit for Team Queso as they move firmly in the lead, up by about 200, but that's the difficulty with this deck in 2v2, is those hog hits on tower are very few and far between, so it becomes all about very great defense and incredibly high cyclability.
Poison Earthquake, I mean, look at this. Team Queso throwing everything, just going almost to empty on the right-hand side, maybe thinking that was an opportunity to take tower. But the big question now was that an overspend? Because you see Tribe Gaming now loading up in the left-hand lane.
Yeah, down as a whole at the beginning of this interaction by I believe, about 5 elixir there because of exactly what you're talking about. Tribe spent a lot on that defense as well, but they spent a lot less than Team Queso. So Team Queso back on the offense. Hog Rider right on through. Tribe kind of selling out on that push on the left-hand side. They get some good damage, though. Look at this Royal Giant.
They're going to take the lead here, 10-23 to 13-54. So you see Queso trying to pressure on the right-hand side. Not able to maintain their lead. So as we are going into sudden death overtime, currently it is Tribe Gaming slightly in control. Elixir fairly even. Some more spell cycle on the right-hand side for Team Chivas.
Team Queso needs to start cycling these giant skeletons up high to catch things at the river, and they need to stay on offense. They need to get one of the worst things to play against when you're or one of the worst situations to happen when you're playing against this deck is to have your opponent cycle those hogs perfectly so one's always on the board. And Team Queso hasn't been able to do that, and it allows their opponent to put way too much attention onto offense. They need to get this cycle going, and they need to stay in it if they want to win.
Hog Rider going to get no. Cage does get down just in time, and Fisherman will help as well. 11:02 on the right-hand side. The fireball on the left-hand side by Tribe Gaming a moment ago to work on the Hunter, create a little extra room. That might be a game-winning fireball, Andrew, as long as they can play defense against this right here. Oh. But there you go. The log does push that very dangerous giant skeleton back, and Tribe Gaming completes the reverse sweep.
Yeah, maybe Benny and Coochie getting a little bit too much tunnel vision, if you will, there at the end, focusing way too much on offense. They sold out, knowing they needed to keep the pressure up, but the problem is when you're playing against a win condition like the Royal Giant, you've got to have a way to stop it. You got to have a way to keep it at bay, and the Fishermen's were not working, they didn't have a Fisherman to get that to the center of the map or pull it to the opposite side, so Coochie and Benny selling out there at the end. No building in hand, only one log. Really, really tough against Tribe.
Well, there was also a lot. I felt like, I have to watch the replay again. That's when it did feel like there was a fair bit of Lumberjack being used in the right-hand lane rather than chopping down some of those Royal Giants. But it is it's a tough one overall. And like you said, maybe a bit of a horse to the barn syndrome here on the right-hand side with Team Queso feeling like they just had to put more in. This is that missed Goblin Cage. And you saw the idea, right? Use the Fisherman for one hog, maybe some Ewiz and Cage for the other, back and forth with those two combinations. But that one there should have and could have been enough for Queso to win the game, but they just got maybe a little bit ahead of themselves.
Well, Rich, even in that moment in the last replay, Queso had a commanding elixir lead, and what you really have to do is what I was saying at the end of the game. You have to keep those hogs in a perfect cycle. When you're in double, when you're in triple, and you have an elixir advantage, it needs to be one hog rider after the other. It needs to feel almost relentless and non-stop so that your opponent can't do what you're seeing on the left-hand side here. Giant Skeleton, Royal Giant, Baby Dragon, Electro Wizard, that is so much elixir being spent on offense. What that tells me is that they're not spending enough to make their opponents play defense. And then to speak on what you were talking about with that Lumberjack not getting on top of the Royal Giant, they wanted to use the Lumberjack to defend against the Graveyard, but then the Archers they needed to use, but it was poison, spellable. They were just in trouble when you talk about matchup here. I think they really needed a building.
Well, the replay we saw just before this one, Andrew, from Team Queso, you saw Tribe Gaming defend a Royal Hog with just a Snowball and Skeletons. That's a +1 trade. And that was one thing that we saw, and we've seen this kind of throughout what Tribe Gaming does, and we saw this on the opposite way from Team Queso, is Tribe Gaming working as a team, making positive trades on defense so they can spend more on offense. And you saw that there. They didn't even give any damage. Snowball Skeletons took care of the Hog Rider, and that was that big push in the opposite lane for Tribe Gaming. So the story continues. Tribe Gaming wins a 2-1 set, and Team Queso loses a 1-2 set, and we go into King of the Hill with Tribe Gaming having the advantage.
I think the most important word to maybe focus on for Team Queso over these last few matches that I've recognized is just composure. It's not consistency, it's not talent, it's just composure. Because if you look at the way that Queso played at the beginning of this 2v2 set, and kind of the way it devolved by the end of Game 3, it felt like they were much more in control and in command of a game that they have every interaction dialed. They know it like the back of their hand at the beginning of game 1, but by the end of game 3, it really felt like they started to make a lot of mental mistakes. And again, it's about composure. The same thing with Kuchi and that Royal Giant last week. These are things that they just kind of lose their mindset. They lose their footing, and they just make small mistakes that every other team is going to take advantage of, and they have been taking advantage of. So it's kind of a bummer when you think for Team Queso how that set started out, but also for Tribe Gaming maybe breaking a curse here of a win 1, lose 1, 2v2 set.
Yeah, I mean, Tribe Gaming, the thing you saw, you talk about composure, Tribe tends to get better throughout the set.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen them drop set game number 1 a whole bunch. They make some small adjustments. They're very good at getting on the same page, and that's a big part of the power of their 2v2, why they were so good in the spring, why they're still a force to be reckoned with here in the fall. And things looking difficult for Team Queso. Remember, they are not in the top, they're not necessarily in that top 4, and they're fighting for one of those top 2 spots. A loss here today makes things very difficult. They have Space Station tomorrow, so I believe to make it into the top 2, they have to beat Tribe and they have to beat Space Station. I think that's how the math works, and right now that's looking like a very, very tall ask.
I like this changeup by Team Queso, putting Kuchi in that leadoff spot against TNT, then IMJP and Ruben. Following that will be Jupiter King and Wolfmac, respectively, for both squads here. So Kuchi and TNT kicking things off. I'd say maybe the weakest link at this point in both of their King of the Hill lineups. Not saying that TNT hasn't done a lot this season, saying that he's the weakest link in a King of the Hill lineup, again, speaks to the strength of Tribe's roster.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to put it, right? TNT, who's one of the top King of the Hill players of all time. Very, very talented guy. And just hasn't been on it as much this season, but still has come out with 5 wins, including 1 big King of the Hill sweep. He's a guy who will when you need him to.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And now Kuchi in that first spot, maybe going to take a lot of that pressure off that kind of fed or led to those mistakes that were made by him in their last match. Maybe this new positioning with him will be a better spot for him to maybe have a little bit more success. So Graveyard in with a big push coming across the bridge and a 6-man in response by TNT. Look at that, Rich.
And that's going to be, yeah, a huge, huge amount of damage. He had nothing for the Mega Minion. The Mega Minion just sat up there swinging, and so all the fight was on the bottom. Of course, now the big question is, what does Kuchiku have here on the right-hand side? Very, very low on Elixir. I don't think this will get to... Oh, well, the Earthquake might change the math here. Not going to quite be tower down, but a pretty big shot on the right-hand side. And this looks like, barring a big mistake, that TNT should be able to extend this into a 2-tower situation, which would be very bad news for Kuchiku.
Yeah, especially because they're opposing towers, Rich. You know, towers being on opposite sides of the board, it's really hard to get... Because what happens then is if you're trying to get a tank across the bridge for your graveyard, your opponent can drop units behind and get your tank to move backwards, so then it becomes dropping things in the pocket, but when you're playing against a fisherman, also easy to change that math up. So it's going to be a really interesting 2-tower game, but we do have to get there first. If I'm TNT, I'm just going to spell cycle on top of these barb huts and play smart and safe until we get into double and triple.
Yeah, he'd love to get another ground unit there to get a little extra damage out of that Earthquake. So here you go, setting up with the 6-man 3-3 split behind that. We might see him Earthquake as the Musketeer begins to come into range.
Nice
and there you go,
Rich.
getting 2 troops and the Barb Hut. Yeah, that's the right play there. Very, very smart work, and then goes opposite lane with the pigs, setting up for the second phase of this game.
Yeah, I like that. And what's happening with this high Barbarian Hut is this is going to start to spell trouble for Kuchiku, because this Barbarian Hut is giving him a negative trade. Yes, the Barbarians are going to spawn, but they're going to be pretty easy to clean up. And if you talk about Royal Hogs coming into a Barb Hut, it's expensive. It's not providing the utility you need. So that's something that TNT is going to want to continue to force Kuchiku to do. Double Mega Minion.
Yeah, 2 Mega Minions down, and this is what gave TNT so much trouble before, and he does have to get an Earthquake down. So this is very important. TNT waiting kind of a long time, goes pigs to the left-hand side. Going to have to play that Earthquake on the right-hand side. Tower is going to go down, and now we go into a situation where TNT does have the advantage as time goes on.
Definitely, and I really, really love what TNT did there. He didn't hit the panic button. He knew how much time he had. He put together a good offense on the left-hand side, baits out the Barb Hut, baits out the Musketeer, easy, easy Earthquake on the right-hand side, and we find ourselves, as you said, in an advantageous situation for TNT.
Heal Spirit for Kuchiku keeps the Musketeer alive just long enough to get shredded by the King Tower and the rest of those troops. Bar barrel trying to work onto the back, and a pretty successful bar barrel there from Kuchi.
Yeah, and I like what TNT's doing here. You see that Goblin Cage in the pocket, cycling cards in the back towards the left-hand side, and then every time that 6-man comes back around, guess where it's going to go? Right around that Princess Tower. It's going to make it very, very difficult for Kuchi to get back on offense. If I'm Kuchi, I might even be starting to look for the spell cycle game, but that's tough.
Yeah, that's really, really tough. And, you know, I was thinking if I'm Kuchiku, I'm trying to abuse Mega Minions right now.
Yeah.
We saw how much difficulty. You have the Royal Delivery, which is helpful but not great, which he wants to use. You can see TNT using it on that side. And then the E-Wiz. If Kuchi can get to these Electro Wizards and just start getting more than one Mega Minion down at once, things could get a little difficult for TNT in the final 45.
Yeah, that little wrench you throw in there, getting to the E-Wiz, though, is really proving to be difficult for Kuchiku, and TNT is very aware of that, so he's always going to cycle it in the back. He's always going to make sure he's got one on the board. And Kuchi's doing just what he has to do. He's got to continue to stay on offense here, but he's just in a really, really rough spot.
Final 30 seconds. Trying to hold on here. Earthquake cycle starting to work. Kuchiku might go for a desperation play here, throw something in the pocket and pick up the King Tower, and there you go. The Knight goes right into the middle. But you see the Knight go away from the tankage and not give the support to the graveyard because of the recruit play. So TNT, good matchup situation, especially as it got late, played it to perfection, and takes game number 1 King of the Hill for Tribe Gaming.
Yep, really, really big game there for TNT, and this was an imperative game number 1 for both of these squads. It really, really helps the favor of either squad. I mean, obviously, it's very obvious. If you win, you're in the lead, but when you talk about who they're leading off with and who they're closing out with, either Kuchi or TNT picking up a win is a huge advantage for their squad moving forward because, again, you talk about who's waiting in the wings, and there's a lot of powerhouses in those 4 gentlemen on either squad.
TNT moves his record on this regular season to 6-6 overall in his career, 20-14 now in King of the Hill, a 59% win rate with 4 sweeps in the King of the Hill set. Overall and head-to-head, TNT is now at a 62% clip throughout his career. A big part of that, Andrew, his rookie season back in CRL Asia, where he put up a 73% overall win rate across his head-to-head play.
Yeah, and that loss there for Kuchi is going to drop his King of the Hill win rate just below 50% and his head-to-head to right around 50%. So not a lot of success for Kuchi in head-to-head as his career has gone on. A lot of that success came in his first seasons in the 2018 of fall and 2019 of spring. But that's okay. Kuchi going to take a seat up next for Team Queso is going to be IMJP, a man who I'm sure Team Queso has a little bit more faith in, but has been very kind of back and forth this season.
Yeah, absolutely true. And you see some of the difficulty that Kuchi's deck gave TNT early on here, but then, of course, when you go to this crosswise 2-tower game, it becomes a very, very different story. And at that point on, TNT did a very good job. And here's the end. Or I believe this is the end. Yeah, I see the Knight and then the high 6-man that pulls the Knight out of tankage range, completely ending any hopes that Kuchiku had of stealing this one in the final moments.
Yeah, I mean, TNT just painted Kuchi right into a corner. He was in a complete stalemate. When you talk about 6-man being consistently cycled in the back, all the support troops being cycled to the other side of the map towards your tower that you have to defend, and then of course the 6-man with the Goblin Cage. Like, how are you going to actually get any sort of presence in the pocket or at the bridge? Just really no way to do it. So great matchup there for TNT. Kuchi, again, taking a seat for the rest of the day. IMJP up next. Rich, do you have a favorite in this game?
I like the way TNT's playing right now. Again, I think that TNT's the more consistent player between these two, so let's jump in and check this one out. JP, if he's moving and if he has an opportunity, he can land that knockout blow. But I do think that TNT is, like I said, the more consistent of these two.
Yeah, TNT looking very calm right now after that first game win. He's going to cycle his bar barrel off to the left. Baits out that Royal Ghost.
You would cycle to the left-hand side behind the Royal Ghost, and fairly similar looks. Very curious to see if the Electro Wizard nerf does have a significant effect on how popular it is in some of the mainstay decks right now.
Nice fireball there by IMJP to take his opponent's Electro Wizard off of the board, and here we go. Looking like a little bit of spamminess at the bottom of our screen.
Feels like Royal Ghost might be one of the big winners of 2020, Andrew, with the the change with the hover mechanic. It's just so much more popular everywhere right now, and a lot of versatility and fun plays can be made.
Yeah, I mean, just the ability to kind of create presence in the center of the map that the Royal Ghost was not. The inability to do that before has made it just so much more viable, you know, and one of our favorite examples of that this season was just, you know, JP, or I believe it was Ruben, doing something as simple as just sending a Royal Ghost to a Barb Hut every time it came down. Creates presence, demands your opponent to spend extra elixir, you've got an advantage there, and, you know, Royal Ghost, really, really fun card.
Graveyard in on the left-hand side. Mega Knight pretty healthy in front. The Fisherman trying to pull that Mega Knight out of range. Doesn't do it, though, so forced to spend a bit more is JP here on defense, and that is a lot of poison value with the Mega Knight still holding that stuff inside the poison.
Yeah, that was just a really great exchange there by TNT. This Royal Ghost is negligible. He's going to drop a bar barrel down as he hits the double, and now he's going to bait out a Fisherman from his opponent. So really, really well played there by TNT. I mean, he's not in a commanding lead by any means, but it was just a great exchange for him.
JP starts with his Royal Giant in the back right-hand corner. Final 40 seconds of regulation time. As double elixir flows, it is TNT in the lead, not by a lot. And the big question is going to be, how does he contend with these Royal Giants? Fisherman trying to pull, and does it get the Hunter? No, it gets the Mega Knight. But a little juke on the opposite side there as the Hunter pulls the Royal Giant away from, or the Fisherman pulls the Royal Giant away from TNT's Hunter. Yeah,
you like the spacing there that TNT put down for his units. Fisherman in the center, Mega Knight up front, you know, Hunter off to the right so that Fireball can't get too much value, but still takes a shot.
Here we go, sudden death overtime. Just setting up defensively right now is JP. Might throw a Giant in front of this. Nope, decides to hold off. A nice heal spirit there from IMJP, but again, now four troops all getting touched. Now that Fisherman just on the edge there.
Yeah, somehow the Fisherman and the Electro Wizard kind of avoid the poison, and now a great push coming in from IMJP. Mega Knight up high, but that Fisherman pulls the Royal Giant right into the pocket. Royal Ghost there to complement.
Huge swing of momentum potentially. Can JP hold off against these graveyards? Mega Knight gets in deep and leaves Fisherman. Does stay up though, and that's going to be very big poison again. Opportunistic poison from TNT.
Yeah, and TNT
this time
has
gets
to,
a lot more value.
Yeah, he has to keep making that happen, Rich, because he can't deal with those massive counter pushes. He's got to make sure he's getting big time poison value on top of those graveyard defenses.
And so far, JP's done a good job of forcing the conversation to the right-hand side, but TNT has not been stopped from trying to even up this fight. Final minute, triple elixir flowing. Can TNT hold on to this lead, or will IMJP even things up here in King of the Hill?
Wow.
And he switches lanes.
Look at that. What a massive bridge battle. Fisherman's going to be completely distracted. This is a great move by IMJP up high with that Goblin Cage, but a Hunter there to help is going to be a lot of DPS on top of that Royal Giant. IMJP switches once again.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to say, I think he maybe switches back one more time. And he does, just forces some expenditure to the left-hand lane, handles the fallout from it well, and if that Heal Spirit had gotten on the Royal Giant, we could be in a very different situation. Instead, two Electro Wizards down, trying to stop a Royal Giant from connecting. Graveyard on the opposite side. Final 15 seconds. The Royal Giant does not touch.
Wow.
Teamwork on the side of TNT. Fireball trying to get in here, but TNT the one putting the pressure on. It looks like TNT is going to get two in a row. Tribe Gaming gonna have match point and the chance for a King of the Hill sweep from TNT.
What a brilliant graveyard there at the very end to keep the pressure up for IMJP to not be able to spend just a little bit more. What happened there is that graveyard comes in. TNT supports his Electro Wizard at the river, and you can actually see him smiling there. I don't think he wants to see us see him smiling, but he was smiling for about a half second. Probably pretty proud of what he did there at the bridge. Those bridge battles were immaculate when you talk about what TNT was doing. And that very last one, the E-Wiz comes down, he drops a graveyard on offense. His opponent has to defend the graveyard, and then he gets a Barb Barrel in to take his opponent's E-Wiz off the board. That right there created a massive window. But first, let's take a look at this great lane changing from IMJP.
Great lane changing and great control of the pieces on the board, Andrew. And you can see he gets a little bit of an elixir advantage here, so he goes back to the RG on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And this is just slightly unfortunate timing. If he'd been able to get that heal spirit out just a half step earlier, I believe this Royal Giant would have been able to get out on tower, but instead the Royal Giant goes down a little bit early, and that could have been a massive swing. Has to go back to a second one, but this is what you were talking about.
Yeah, that Royal Giant right there, that's the one that you don't want to have to cast, but it's tough. You see 16 seconds left. You know there's only one way to get real damage on the tower, so IMJP has to do it. What does his opponent do? Graveyard, poison in the pocket, great bridge battle once again. You can see the result of it with those E-Wizzes on the right-hand side, actually taking that tower way down. But TNT coming out strong for Tribe. I feel like we might be going to set 3 today, Rich.
Yeah, it's, well, we might be going to...
Or, I mean, excuse me, we might be doing a 2-set sweep today. Wow, all right.
A 2-set sweep today. Very possible here. TNT playing great, and... You know, I think the story of this one, you talked about it earlier, was the spreading of the troops, the inability for JP to get stuff off the board. Yeah. We saw when he switched lanes for a second, controlled pretty well, but then when TNT was able to get 2 Electro Wizards down, stun the heck out of that Royal Giant, and buy enough time for the Fisherman to pull, that was the nail in the coffin, and TNT just made sure that JP had difficulty getting to those troops deep in his territory.
Yeah, you know, there were so many kind of mirror battles happening at the bridge. E-Wiz and E-Wiz, Fisherman, Bar Barrel, kind of all there to support heal spirits. But what changed it, again, was that great graveyard in the very final moments there by TNT. And he did that a couple times throughout. He did it early on in that last game when he was able to Earthquake out that tower after he sent the Royal Hogs in with only 7 seconds remaining in regulation. He's doing this great thing where he looks at how much time he has. He knows exactly how long every interaction takes. And he goes, what's the way to create the most trouble for my opponent that I can still squeak by with? And he did it 2 games in a row, and that's why he's up 2-0.
Well, Andrew, you said the word during 2v2. It's an important word here, composure. And TNT is an exceptionally composed player. Yeah. And that's what you get with 4 or 3 very seasoned veterans on Tribe Gaming between Azilius, Buffmac, and TNT. 3 guys who've been here a lot and are very composed, and that's been a key factor in this match so far. So we're going to jump into our 3rd and final game here, or our 3rd game of King of the Hill, maybe not necessarily final. TNT with a chance to sweep and close out Team Queso. Team Queso is hoping that Ruben can do it once again. The question is, does he have the magic to carry Queso all the way across the finish line?
Yeah, so Ruben's had 1 King of the Hill sweep this season, and that was against SK Gaming, where he took down OP Sam, Morton, and Javi, but then he lost that 1v1 set, the only 1v1 set he's lost. Otherwise, it's all been 2 or 1 game wins for Ruben, or not picking one up at all. So the King of the Hill sweep, trying to add the 2nd one to his record this season.
A lot at the bridge right now for Ruben, and the bar putt comes down to contend with all of that. Mega Minion to help for TNT. Miner goes to the outside, but as long as this Mega Minion, no, it can't get away from the bomb. So gonna actually work out pretty nicely for Ruben despite being well defended by TNT.
Yeah, really nicely for Ruben. If you think about, you know, where they're at elixir-wise, that Miner just living on the tower, being the first card out, already back in cycle, 4 cards played by Ruben, so he can go back on offense when he wants to create some pressure. Just a really great heads-up exchange there by Ruben.
Fisherman to the left-hand side, and this is an interesting Minor Loon cycle deck, Andrew, with the Archers instead of the Musketeer, with the Knight in the mix here, where you often commonly see an Ice Golem. A lot of curious pieces here for the Spaniard.
Yeah, just needing a little bit more tankage on the ground. That's the reason for moving that Knight in. Makes sense because we have been seeing so much Mega Knight recently, and especially with those bridge spam type decks, you know, the Ice Golem is great for kiting and providing a little bit of tankage, but of course the Knight added DPS is really important there. So Ruben going back on offense, kind of, really more so to just get that bar putt off the board.
Well, and this is what we saw from Ruben when he played that matchup, Royal Giant against the bar putt. I believe that was of Bale, was he was using his Royal Ghost at the bridge a bunch to control the bar putt. So same thing here. The bar putt costs 7, a balloon costs 5. You have another way to get damage on tower. Why not do everything you can to control those bar putts? Nice work here by Team Queso's Star.
You know, you and I were getting ready for our show today, and we were talking about the balance changes. We were going through news about CRL East and all that. And we were, you know, we stopped for a moment and talked about Graveyard. You know, Graveyard being a card and a win condition that's so popular everywhere in the game right now. Ladder, GCs, CRL, what have you. Graveyard a problem, but then a lot more of what feels like the problem is the Barb Hut once again just being so very powerful, which is exactly why you see Ruben putting so much focus on it every time he plays against it.
Balloon coming in, Snowball trying to make enough room for a connection, and it does get on tower. Ruben now has to play some defense, but have that tower down to 123 on the left-hand side. You feel like a good defense here could be the nail in the coffin, but he has to play a lot right now.
I mean, when you're playing against a great Balloon player and they sequence everything perfectly, they get your spells out right when they're expecting them, they get your units off the board right when you want to play them, that's exactly the way you lose to Balloon, and Ruben did that perfectly. The way he supported it, the moments that he attacked, when he decided to use his Snowball, everything about it was just picture perfect.
Fireball in onto the archers, trying to get this Royal Giant on tower, knowing that his minutes are starting to tick down. Here is TNT, 75 HP, not enough for a Snowball, but a missed miner pickup would mean a game change, and that's going to be it. Ruben stops the TNT train right in its tracks.
Yeah, TNT would have loved to get that King of the Hill sweep against Team Queso, but he's done more than enough today. You see the frustration on his face. It's funny because, you know, you talk about watching superstars or athletes in any sport, and, you know, the non-emotional, the composed ones, you know, since we've been using that word so much, the Kawhi Leonards, if you will, they might not be as fun to watch on screen, but they're so dialed in, and now you can see TNT with just a little bit of emotion showing after the frustration from that loss. Ruben back in fighting form. No surprise here to see him pick up a win.
Well, Ruben just plays the game perfectly. We talk a lot about his micro, but it's an understanding recognition early of what his objectives are. And the objective here for Ruben was make the Barb Hut not a factor. He did it by two ways, by attacking the Barb Hut directly and by outcycling. He did those two things with the Balloon and did a great job. And this is a beautiful, beautiful connection with the Balloon. Snowball comes in, perfect timing, Barb Barrel neutralizes that E-Wiz, and then still defends very nicely on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Knight tanking for Miner, then Miner taking for Balloon, and then E-Wiz comes down, Barb Barrel on top of that. Last second Snowball, absolute perfection. That bomb drop, TNT knew it was over. He had to get more damage in, or at least more of an offensive presence in earlier here. Really, really tough to do that with Royal Giant, especially against this deck, because as you can see right there, when you do send in a Royal Giant pretty much unsupported, it's very easy to defend, and it turns into a big-time counter push. So TNT not able to get the pushes that he wanted put together or orchestrate them the way he'd like, and really not able to switch lanes. As we all know, Royal Giants need a little bit of support, but those Balloon decks come in hot and heavy, and they cycle so very quickly. So one down for Ruben, two more to go in Jupiter King, and of course Buffmac, I think in the reverse order there. How you feeling about this now?
Look, it's Ruben. Can anybody in this league do it? Yeah, Ruben can. He's 10-3 in King of the Hill. There's a reason why. He's so darn good at this game. I mean, overall in the season, he's 19-6 in games. It's bananas numbers, and he certainly can do it, but doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Yeah, Jupiter King on the other side of it, 4-3 in King of the Hill. This season, he's been 8-5 in head-to-head play, though, at 62%. So pretty good numbers there overall. Seems like Ruben has him edged out by just a little bit. Jupiter, top of your screen, wanting to close things out for Tribe. Of course, Ruben at the bottom, keeping Team Queso alive.
E-Wiz cycle to the left-hand side. Cage at half health, and just a little chip log there to work on the E-Wiz. The protection does not get there quite in time from Jupiter King in the terms of the Barb Barrel, so Electro Wizard does go down first, 40 seconds away.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how much the usage of that Electro Wizard is going to change, because the stun is just still so strong. You know, the damage is pretty negligible. You know, it's just not really what we're looking for there. That stun is really what it is. And so, see this high Mega Knight on top of that Royal Giant, Hunter behind. You get the Heal Spirit in to kind of help here, so there's not as big of a push coming across the bridge. But the problem here for Ruben is that Hunter is going to be tanked for. Oh my goodness.
That's going to be, absolutely huge. Tons of damage, tower down. Mega Knight just had a little bit too much health left, and Ruben didn't have a good answer on the opposite side, unable to set the line, unable to DPS it down, and now Ruben's fighting from behind with 90 seconds left.
I mean, let's be honest, Rich. One of the worst feelings in this game is overspending at the bridge and not knowing your opponent has a Mega Knight. Jupiter King drops that right up front, Hunter behind. The Hunter's going to stay very well protected. Mega Knight takes a little bit of a beating. They get that Royal Giant off the board after taking a couple shots, and then they turn it into a massive offensive push. All bad news for Team Queso.
This was smart recognition here from Ruben, though, seeing the Fisherman cycle the opposite lane, goes with the Royal Giant on the left, and doesn't spend more on that Royal Giant. So he forces 8 to defend 6. Let's see if Ruben can turn that into some sort of advantage.
Wow.
So far, not working that way. Nice bar barrel from Jupiter.
What a brilliant bar barrel. Perfectly timed. That Electro Wizard ends up turning all of those lemons into lemonade. Perfect bar barrel to complement at the very, very end to keep it on the board. Lets that Fisherman get the tower, but that's pretty negligible damage, especially when you look at where he's at right now. And I didn't even realize, but that King Tower for Ruben below 2K.
Yeah, look at this, though. A nice little log there. 920 on the right-hand side. Jupiter King able to recover, but good damage in from Jupiter, although I don't know if he can defend against so much coming down the opposite direction. Ruben trying to hold on here.
It's a good moment
and find some way to put some offense.
Yeah, it's a good moment for Ruben. That Electro Wizard sneaking in front of that Mega Knight makes it a lot more difficult for that Mega Knight to get or create any sort of presence here. A great Fisherman pull, Brawler there to help, and that should do it.
Mega Knight turns things around. Jupiter King comes in the big moment, blows Ruben out of the water. Solid matchup, solid play. And the lights just went off on Jupiter's side. So
Jupiter's ready to go
just
back
in
to
time,
sleep.
I guess.
Yeah. Very, very well played by Tribe Gaming. They did a lot of really great things that we got to talk about. First of all, they broke that 2v2 pattern they've been stuck in of winning a set, losing a set, winning a set, losing a set. You talked about their game record, now maybe moving a little bit more towards that positive column. Second, TNT coming out and King of the Hill doing exactly what you want him to do, picking up 1 game win. Oh no, he does double that. He picks up 2. And then of course, Jupiter King comes in and does exactly what you expect him to do, even if it is against someone as good as Ruben.
You know, Ruben's phenomenal. That was a tough situation, and as you talked about, the putting so much there, and you see those 2 troops, the Fisherman and the Hunter, are just right behind. They're so close that Mega Knight's able to get down, and even the Heal Spirit can't help enough, and this is just enough tankage, and Ruben, having spent his ground troops that would be able to distract that Mega Knight, they are no longer in the mix, and just like that, Ruben loses that tower early, and really difficult to come back from that situation.
Even that 1 extra elixir spent on that Heal Spirit at the very end to kind of help the Fisherman and the Hunter take the Mega Knight off the board, it becomes even more wasted elixir because somehow that sliver of health that Mega Knight had went a mile. Tanks for the entirety, essentially, of that graveyard. Hunter, not even an issue. I was talking about how the Hunter's going to get tanked for by the Skeletons. Nah, the Skeletons are going to get tanked for by that Mega Knight still. So tower down, overspend at the bridge. Great recognition by Jupiter King, and here we go. Tribe takes an L. Team Queso takes an L. Tribe moving up, and Team Queso really trying to hold on to those top spots, as you mentioned at the top of the show, Rich, becoming ever more difficult after their last 2 matches.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure, but I believe that this one makes it impossible for Team Queso to get one of those top 2 spots, because I think that the way that all the matchups work out, either Spacestation or Tribe will end up above them at the end of the season. So a rough spot for Queso, and you know, Ruben's great, but you lean on one player too much, and this is going to be the result.
Exactly. You lean on one player too much. I mean, you talk again about a guy, TNT is kind of their 4th man, because Azelius is always going to be out there with Boofmac in 2v2, and you know Jupiter King is going to come out at some point in the match. So TNT truly is their 4th man here in their roster, and when he comes out and plays that well, that's exactly what you want in your squad. Again, a team game, and Tribe has been doing that all season long. And yes, Rich, with that, Team Queso falls to 4th place at 5-3, and Tribe moves up into 2nd. As of right now, obviously we'll talk about the standings at the end of our show and at the end of our weekend. Can Team Queso get it together? Is Ruben their only hope?
I mean, right now it feels like that. I do believe that the playoff format with the 3 1v1 sets benefits Team Queso. You know, you can lean on Ruben and JP in that set, but they have to get there first. Speaking of getting there, we'll be back in 5 minutes with our next match of the day. Don't go anywhere. Second break time battle. Rockstar coming from behind to win the first one. Andrew, do you think that Fernando's reeling, emotional, just crying in a heap in the corner of his floor after giving up that last one?
Yes. I actually think he's doing all of those things. Luckily for him, we had time in between the matches for him to regroup, recoup, and come back ready to play. Rockstar just straight up stole that, like stealing candy from a baby in those final seconds from our boy by Fernando.
If you guys don't know, stealing candy from babies is very easy. It is Halloween, so, you know, try it out on your little cousin. See what happens.
Yeah, get your practice in. Right now is the best time.
Minor wall breakers for Fernando. And Rockstar saying, you can graveyard, well, I can graveyard, but can you stop these wall breakers? Not the both of them. And, oh, I thought that was going to be 2.
Yeah, that's a real frustrating NATO there from Rockstar. And he says it, yep, wow. Waste of Elixir, gets the tower connection. Icewiz gets the collateral damage there, and just a rough play for our boy.
Rockstar throwing out the caster emote. Love to spam that one on the rare occasion where I do throw a bunch of emotes out.
I hope people know that when they BM me after they destroy me and I spam that caster emote, they know who they've done it to.
Yeah, I do always wonder when I run into somebody, like, when somebody says wow, are they saying wow just from like a BM standpoint, or is it like one of the people who actually knows what my in-game name is?
Like, wow, I get to embarrass you and then I'm going to post it on Twitter. That's what Fernando wants to do to Rockstar right now.
Yeah, I hope that he does, by the way. I hope that Fernando's entire social media is only about this game. Assuming he wins, by the way. If he loses, you know what? If he loses, I hope his entire social media is also just about this one. But we'll see right now with the lead again, although that didn't work out for him last game.
I like that you and I are both friends with Rockstar, and we both truly want him to lose this. So here we go. Rockstar trying to set up
100%.
a graveyard push. We knew it was going to come in right now as we're in double elixir. Fernando, though, he's got the poison. Should be easy for him to deal with a lot of this.
Just to reiterate on your point, Andrew, it is never fun when your friends succeed, right? You always want your friends to have some trouble. Nothing better in comedy than watching your friends bomb from the back of the room.
Oh, that is a good feeling.
Wall breakers go down. 30 seconds left in regulation. 1982 to 1681. And now, Andrew, I actually don't know which one of those was a better year for music.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up. Man, this is a big push coming across the bridge here, but Rockstar able to keep it at bay because that poison coupled with the NATO, really, really nicely played there by Rockstar.
Yeah, this elixir difference, though. Nice night to pick up the bandit, getting there in front of the Ice Wizard. I almost went with the Ice Wizard. Actually, I am one Ice Wiz away from maxing out on Ice Wizard. I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm surprised Fernando hasn't tried to put up any sort of opposite lane pressure with either the bandit or just minor wall breakers, but I get it. He's got the damage lead here, but not by much, and he keeps giving that poison value away. It's going to be an easy one for Rockstar to come back.
Bar Barrel slices through a lot of that, but the bandit stays up, goes right to the Ice Wiz. Musketeer should know. Nice Baby Dragon to save it, but falling further behind on Elixir right now is Rockstar, and now a solid counter push coming in from Fernando.
Yeah, a lot coming across the bridge here. Rockstar just doesn't have the damage to deal with this, and he hasn't been actually able to keep these pushes at bay the way he'd like. Bandit dashes through. We are tied up here after game number 2.
Woo! Let's go. Fernando gets one in. Guys, we'll be right back in just a moment with more Clash Royale League, and I guess one more break time battle. And welcome back for our second match of the day. I hope you found yourself the best pumpkin you could find. And, you know, if you did a Clash Royale pumpkin, why don't you tweet at us with it? I don't know. Did you make a Clash Royale pumpkin? Send it to Esports Royale or to @Andrew Guy or @Rich Slayton so we can see the cool stuff you did. And if you didn't make one, you still have like a few hours, I guess. Talking about having no time, though, Andrew, we're about to jump into a battle for a really important space here.
Yeah.
You have Pain Gaming, who has very little time left to get one of those top 2 spots or top 6 spots or secure their current number 6 space. And Chivas Esports, which technically with a win today could keep themselves in the hunt for the number 6 spot.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Chivas is actually still in it because they've had so many struggles this season, but they have been putting things together here in the final weeks, just like Pain on a 3-match win streak, obviously with their forfeited match in week 2. It went a little rough for them. They were they were basically 0-4, you know, or 0-3 because they weren't able to take that win. But since then, because of what they've done in the 2v2 and of course Vitor stepping up in King of the Hill and in 1v1, they're on a 3-match win streak in 6th place and looking like they're going to make playoffs. It's been a huge turnaround, a complete 180 for Pain.
Pain's in control of their own destiny, Andrew. If they can continue to win, they can continue to stay in playoffs. But of course, they have Dignitas right on their heels, currently also with 3 wins. So 3-4 for Dig, 3-3 technically for Pain. Let's go ahead and jump into our second match of the day, Chivas Esports and Pain Gaming.
Chivas e Pain Gaming. A Pain Gaming jogou o que todo mundo queria ver e mais um pouco. É a hora de mostrar que tá na briga pra levar o título. Playoffs tem que virar realidade hoje. A Pain Gaming vem contra o Chivas e acho que vai levar melhor. O Chivas acho que não aguenta não, hein?
Chivas Esports contra Pain Gaming. Os brasileiros já estão na zona de classificação, só precisam se manter lá pro caminho para as playoffs.
Aquí no sé qué decirles, yo creo que el favorito puede ser Pain, pero las Chivas también están jugando a un alto nivel. Pero el que le importa tener esta victoria es a Pain Gaming.
Pain Gaming is coming off probably their most important win of the season over Queso. They have a dangerous opponent in Chivas, but if they can win, they take one step closer to playoffs.
Pain Gaming in a must-win matchup today between them and Chivas Esports. Losing to a bottom-of-the-barrel team right now would be detrimental for Pain Gaming's playoff hopes. But after dominating Team Queso in their last matchup, it feels like the future is bright for Pain Gaming.
So here we go. Chivas Esports technically still in the mix. A win today would create a sort of triangle situation with Pain and Dignitas. Of course, Dig looking at this one very closely. Chivas Esports really has been the story of Diego B and Pompeo, who've been great in 2v2, and of course, Diego's been solid in head-to-head play, but head-to-head has been the struggle so far for this squad. Adrian Piedra and Kevin R.A. both just inconsistent, unable to really put themselves in high gear enough to really support the team in the big moments.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about their opponents in head-to-head play, a complete 180 by Vitor75, who in his last 2 sets played has picked up 3 sets played, 7 wins and 1 loss. Dominant in King of the Hill, great showing in that 1v1 set. Lucas, Sweep, and Wallace have been doing it in other parts, though. You talk about reforming that 2v2 with Lucas and Wallace now. Very, very strong. In their last 3 matches, again, they've gone 6-1 with 3 set wins. I'm very excited for Pain Gaming. We saw a lot of promise from them early in the season. It seemed like with that forfeited win, that vacant win, that they were going to be all in trouble from there on. Look at that, Mario and Luigi from Diego and Pompeo. You got to love to see it. But since the switch with Lucas and Wallace, they have been dominant.
And looks like Wallace, of course, dressing up as, I don't know, as Vitor maybe? I don't know what he's going for with his costume. Here we go, jumping into our opening game of 2v2. Wallace and Lucas for Pain Gaming, top of your screen. Pompeo and Diego B at the bottom. Bands are Musketeer and Fisherman.
Yeah, Musketeer and Fisherman, good bands there. Fisherman are going to be more and more popular for that band. Musketeer still somewhat popular. Are those mustaches really a thing?
Probably. I think they grew them very quickly, and honestly, I'm a bit impressed.
Yeah, I'm jealous, honestly. Here we go. E-Wiz behind one giant skeleton, Ice Wizard behind the other.
Yeah, you don't see a ton of Ice Wizard in 2v2, but no tornado ban. Why not bring out the Frosty one?
Yeah, exactly. Great combination defensively there, especially when you can couple it with that giant skeleton bomb. You see here a lot being dropped on defense. Can they turn it into a strong counter push? No, they can't.
You know, one thing we didn't really talk about, Andrew, with the balance changes is the slight buff to the HP of the Tombstone.
Yeah.
Which, you know, for a long time, the defensive combination that was pretty much everywhere was Ice Wiz, NATO, Tombstone. It dominated the meta for a long time. Gotta wonder if that little buff to Tombstone might bring back that trifecta.
Yeah, and then they swapped it over to Cannon for a little while in a different little form of meta just because the Tombstone wasn't providing enough defensive utility. And I'm really curious to see if that happens, Rich. That was one of those trifectas, as you said, that was just a completely dominant force in the game for a while.
First minute 45 away, and so far no significant lead either direction. Icewiz is going to probably be unsupported here by Lucas and Wallace. No sense in trying to push the pace on that side.
They go for a log, looking, I think, for goblins or an ice spirit there. Get a little bit of chip damage, so it's not a complete loss.
Remember, with the fishermen being out of the game, these bridge battles become a lot more stuck in the bridge as opposed to just a river fight.
Yeah, and that's almost why you want to give Wallace and Lucas an advantage, just because they can create presence somewhere else other than just right at the bridge. So here we go. Royal Giant up high, Graveyard low. Two giant skeletons on the board here for Pompeo and Diego.
Yeah, I need to go back and look at it. I'm not sure about that fireball there. Didn't get a whole lot done for Pain Gaming. You put a fireball on a giant skeleton. It's almost like give it a bee sting to a bull.
Yeah, so here we go. Right back on offense, maybe because of that fireball. Seeing a moment of opportunity here is Pompeo and Diego. That giant skeleton has a lot of HP left. Now that bomb actually works against Pompeo and Diego, taking the opponent's giant skeleton down, which then clears off their royal.
Icewiz, NATO, and Giant Skeleton going to make it so hard for anyone to break through in any significant way here at the bridge. So as you said, Andrew, that graveyard feels like it might be the particular advantage overall amongst these 36 cards.
Yeah, so here we go. Right back on offense. No surprise here. Giant skeleton right up front. Sorry, Rich, we don't get paid for our math skills.
I always got an A first semester and a C second semester. Review was easy. It's the new stuff that always did me in.
So there we go. Royal Giant doesn't get a second shot in. These giant skeleton battles just becoming very repetitive, but somehow, some way, Pompeo and Diego able to create enough space to give them a lead.
And this Royal Giant kind of getting pushed every which way but north. It's been the story of the Royal Giants coming in from Pompeo and Diego be quite often that giant skeleton bomb will be good on defense for Chivas Esports. Final minute, triple elixir on its way, and the question is this where the graveyard begins to give an advantage to Pain Gaming?
And there you see, they switch lanes, giant skeleton up high, Skelly's behind with that baby dragon, NATO to pull it all back towards the tower, hoping to maybe get splash, maybe helping to get that giant skeleton there, but just not gonna happen. Wallace and Lucas trying everything.
Yeah, it's so hard for them to break through, and they don't have... I'm wondering what that last card... It's a Lightning. Ooh. Two Royal Giants on the left-hand side. 31 seconds left. Right now, it's Pain Gaming in the lead. Earthquake in for Chivas Esports.
Oh, man.
You have to imagine that Pain's going to pull a graveyard here.
Yeah, really, really great NATO there. Everything cleaned up with these double giant skeleton bombs. Royal Giant, giant skeleton dropped on both sides of the board, 1132 to 1322.
Log in, Earthquake for Chivas Esports. You gotta imagine the Lightning will come in and support on the opposite side. Fireball NATO going down the other direction. Lightning Fireball, can it be enough? And Pain Gaming steals it in the final second.
Fireball comes in, a couple skeleton hits there, and they take it by 95 HP. Our Plumber brothers are quite upset right now. You can see Guy Fawkes in the background giving them a little bit of advice. Wallace and Lucas, really, really great job holding on. And Rich, maybe it was the graveyard in the opposite lane that started to create a little bit of space for them, but they did a very, very nice job when you talk about deck selection considering their matchup.
Yeah, they held on for a long time with that Lightning. And the Graveyard ended up not being the factor that we thought it was. It was the Lightning that really changed things at the end. Took some supporting troops off the backside and then also put in a ton of extra damage on that tower. So very, very nicely played by Pain Gaming in the final moments.
Yeah, I liked what Wallace and Lucas did. You know, they kind of diverted their opponent's attention a little bit to the right-hand side with that Graveyard, and then their opponent kind of overspent, if you will, on the left-hand side comfortably. I think that's the second Lightning that we just saw there. Their opponent overspent on the left-hand side comfortably because they hadn't seen the Lightning all game, but then all of a sudden that Lightning comes in, great value, creates space on the tower, and right now you just see this back and forth bridge battle going on. Royal Giant, Giant Skeleton on both sides. And yeah, Pain, Wallace, and Lucas just coming out on top by a hair.
Well, you got to wonder about that double Royal Giant, Andrew, because they played the two Royal Giants at the bridge and ended up winning the bridge fight and were ahead on Elixir, but they didn't have another Royal Giant at that moment to drop in the opportune second. So what they did was they ended up feeding 6 Elixir, put 2 Royal Giants into a pile of Splash and NATO and Slow and Bomb Tower and everything. And you got to wonder if maybe Chivas Esports didn't drop that second Royal Giant in that moment, if they would have been able to continue the cycle and take the win.
Yeah, I think so. Or at least maybe been able to get more damage out of it. If they were just a little bit more patient, even with that second Royal Giant drop. Let's say they dropped it 2 seconds later, then at least the Giant Skeleton is the one tanking, not your fresh Royal Giant that you just dropped. As you said, 6 Elixir down the drain that you really could have used on defense. And you get it. You get excited. You get tunnel vision. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, but you got to hold on something like a Royal Giant. It's just so expensive and provides absolutely nothing other than damage.
You know, a little curious, and I'm looking at the deck composition here on both these sides. The Lightning's a little bit of an interesting choice given the Musketeer ban, right? You think Lightning's in 2v2 a lot now because of Musketeer being so popular. But without the Musketeer on the board, in this situation you understand why the Lightning was played so rarely, because there weren't as often opportunities for it.
Yeah, so as we hop into game number 2, just to maybe piggyback on your thoughts there, Rich, is maybe they were looking for something like, you know, a Hunter, E-Wiz, Tower, but that's still asking for a lot. There's a lot of other ways to defend, and even if their opponents were to defend with something like a Bomb Tower plus Archers, it's still just not giving you quite the value that you want. It's the same as like taking out a Hunter, a Musketeer, and getting Princess Tower damage. So makes sense why they had to hold on to it as long as they did, but maybe a bit of a curious ban.
And you see now, Pain Gaming going pretty quick cycle so far. Giant Skeleton to the right-hand side. In kind by Chivas.
So just slow playing this, and should be pretty much a stalemate.
You see Pain's going to switch here, and a nice Ice Spirit just to stick that, make sure that that Baby Dragon didn't escape the Skeleton Barrel on the right-hand side. You don't know if it was necessary, but a good precaution there out of Lucas.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important. Safe rather than sorry would have been damage that you didn't want to give away, especially with how close these games have been.
Raged up Royal Giant trying to get on tower, but the Ice-Wiz Hunter combination only allows 1 shot in on the right-hand side. That is enough for Chivas Esports to take the lead, though, as we are 15 seconds away from double Elixir.
The Giant Skeleton still duking out on the left-hand side of the board, but a big push coming in here on the right. Those Goblins doing just enough. You love that adjustment from Goblins to Skeletons as that Ice Wizard not able to take them off. Great utility and great DPS on top of that Royal Giant.
And again, good Ice Spirit use out of Lucas just to not allow that little extra bit of damage and force out the log in the opposite direction. It was Lucas. It was not just Lucas. I want to comment about the quality from Pain and from Pain Gaming's 2v2 duo. Last week against a Magic Archer, it was Wallace who played the log to knock the Magic Archer in by half a tile, and then Lucas who played the Skeletons to get the King Tower activation. That's it's a nice enough little micro move for one player to do, but to do that in sync as a team just shows how much these two have grown in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, you talk about what you're getting out of 3 Elixir spent there, and the same with this Ice Spirit, using it as a clay pigeon, if you will, to distract their opponent coming across the bridge and just allowing their Princess Tower to take it off the board. So really, really great use of their cheap cards, and that's kind of the name of the game in 2v2. If you can get a lot of utility out of your cheaper cards in your deck, that's just going to give you a bigger Elixir advantage, which obviously turns into more damage on the tower.
So here we go. Sudden death overtime. Currently Pain Gaming with the advantage, but that can change in a heartbeat, of course. And a lot coming down the left-hand side. Giant Skeleton Ice Wiz on the Pain side to defend against this push from Pompeo and Diego B.
Well, what's crazy about this, Rich, is you now see how much that Ice Wizard is actually doing. When you're playing against Royal Giant, that Ice Wiz really, really slows it down. On that last defense, Wallace and Lucas didn't even have to use their building. They just used their Ice Wizard.
Wow, Andrew, take a look at what just happened here. The Giant Skeleton play on the outside by Chivas Esports made the Giant Skeleton of Pain Gaming push the Royal Giant out of bomb tower range and get on tower. So defense working against defense to give the big advantage for the moment to Pain.
Yeah, a crazy little do-si-do that just happened there. They thought they had things completely locked down, and now it becomes a spell cycle race. Fireball gonna come in. What a crazy little interaction there to give Wallace and Lucas their 4th 2v2 set in a row. Yeah, that's right. Pain Gaming, 4 2v2s in a row. Let's go.
Wow, I hope that we can pull that one in the replay booth potentially and take a look at that again. It was near the end, so most likely they got it. But what an interesting and unfortunate sequence there for Pompeo and Diego B. Just, again, I guess we'll get there in a moment, but to continue on with what you're saying there, Andrew, Pain Gaming, and you talk to pros about this, they have become one of the most feared and respected 2v2 duos in CRL.
They're 8-1 over the last 4 matches now. 2-1 against Liquid, 2-0 against Dig, 2-0 against Queso, and now 2-0 against Chivas Esports. So right now, Wallace and Lucas really doing great things for Pain Gaming.
So this was earlier on, and you see everything just getting stuck here in these bridge fights. Trying to remember which sequence this was here, Andrew, but a lot of it was just how stuck everything got. And then this is going to be that sequence on the right-hand side. So the Royal Giant is on the outside, and watch the Royal Giant sneak through here, get in between, and it's the Giant Skeleton. I think it might be because of the earthquake there. The Giant Skeleton of... Oh, no, it's because the Giant Skeleton of Chivas is targeting the Royal Giant. The Giant Skeleton of Pain is targeting the Chivas Giant Skeleton and just pushes the Royal Giant out of bomb tower range, and that's the end of the game right there.
Can we go back to that, or is that not possible up there in the booth, guys? If it's not, no problem. I know we don't really usually ask to go back to a replay, but it was just crazy. Thank you so much. Look at that. You asked and you shall receive. You guys are gods. Look at this. It doesn't even really make sense what happens here. So as we're getting back here, I think this is probably perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, here we go.
If we look at this, the Giant Skeleton looks like he just changes his mind. It's so crazy. So here we go. Giant Skeleton's duking it out. Royal Giant behind. Heal Spirit comes in. And then, yeah, Rich, when that Earthquake comes down, the Giant Skeleton oddly moves to the right, pushing the Royal Giant back in tower range. Wow, you gotta love Clash Royale.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those fun ones. Not so much fun for Chivas Esports, but huge for Pain Gaming, who now are to come out to a pretty commanding lead here and go into the set where I'm almost saying this too much now, where I believe that Pain Gaming has the overall advantage with most of their matchups this season, and in particular against this one. Could we again be looking at another 2-set sweep from the boys in black?
I mean, I said it. In the last 3 sets that we've seen at Vitor, he's gone 7-1. You talk about a guy that, honestly, early in the season, we figured it was going to be all Lucas and Wallace bringing head-to-head wins. Lucas was in that 1v1 set. They were doing okay in King of the Hill. But now, with Lucas and Wallace dominating in 2v2, Vitor stepping up in head-to-head play, I think I agree with you. I really, really do, because Diego B has been kind of the shining spot. Chivas and Kevin has had some good moments, but when you talk about getting actually to that 3rd and final set, they have done nothing but struggle this season, where now Pain Gaming is starting to excel.
Yeah, Pain Gaming looking very good indeed, and this is not how they drew it up on paper at the first place. If you told me that Lucas would be a big part of their 2v2, and Vitor, not to say anything, Vitor is certainly one of those 2 guys who would switch in to the 1v1 set, but certainly just not how you saw the season going overall. And here you go, Kevin coming out with one of my old-time favorites, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Vitor coming out as, I guess maybe he's coming out as Wallace, actually. So the 2 guys going with the opposing outfits this time around. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 of King of the Hill.
Yeah, celebrity sighting on the left-hand side of the screen. You gotta love it. Gotta love Sonic the Hedgehog. Here we go. Kevin, bottom of your screen. Vitor at the top. Both of these guys have started to step up in this later part of the season. And to speak on that about Kevin RA picked up 2 wins against Javi and OP Sam in their last King of the Hill. And before that, he took down Wings and Air Surfer.
Pigs to the left-hand side. Bomb tower in response for Vitor. He's going to be happy to have that one in this matchup. And you see the Goblin Brawler go to the right-hand side. Vitor, probably the crowning achievement besides his 3 global tournament #1 finishes in his career. You know, it's a debate between the No-Tilt World Championship making that top 8, which was such an insane gauntlet, or his championship run in the Moreno Cup 5, which, you know, if you follow Clash Royale at all, you know how stacked those Moreno Cups have been.
Yeah, I mean, the off-season competition that's been happening over the last 2 years has just gone up, I think, exponentially every single off-season.
Bushman cycled right-hand side. Vitor splitting his archers in the back.
Right now, Vitor's got to be feeling okay about his matchup. You know, he's got some decent splash damage. He's got a way to get poison value when he does go in with his graveyard, and he's also got, you know, a nice way to keep those Royal Hogs in the center of their map with the bomb tower.
A lot of good control pieces here for the Portuguese player. Pick to the right-hand side. Earthquake in response to the bomb tower. Still not going to get a whole lot out of that as Kevin.
Yeah, even an elixir, but you got the knight on the board here for Vitor. We'll see if he decides to do anything here. And instead, he does the correct thing. He waits to see what his opponent's going to play in response. He goes Mega Minion Graveyard opposite side, and the reason you say beautiful there, Rich, is exactly that. The Mega Minion comes in, takes the Fisherman off the board. Nice decision-making by Vitor.
Absolutely beautiful. Had the 3 elixir advantage, and we're sitting there going, what does he do with it? Fisherman comes down, and it's still a 3 elixir advantage, and great time there to pull the trigger on the graveyard, get a little bit of extra work done.
Yeah, it was really important that he switched lanes there. It would have been a much easier defense on the right-hand side had, you know, Vitor doubled down in just a single lane. Kevin would have been able to stop the entire thing, maybe with just that Royal Delivery. Instead, creating the double lane pressure after a card is played, that's really the way to do it. You know, I was watching Crap's stream on Twitch the other day, and he was kind of talking through games he was playing with viewers. And a lot of the times he would say, you know, your biggest mistake you're making here is that you're just making it too easy for me to defend. You're doubling down or putting too much in one lane instead of creating dual lane pressure.
And that's absolutely huge. Bomb tower in cycle in the middle. Goes high with the bomb tower to his strong side, does Vitor. He's playing this pretty much picture perfect, Andrew. And,
yeah.
You know, we're talking about that dual lane pressure. The sequence where he didn't play a graveyard, the Hunter came out from Kevin in response, expecting it, poisons that out, goes Mega Minion to the right, and then goes Graveyard to the left. Vitor is just stretching Kevin thin right now.
Yeah, and it's those types of things that really become mentally draining, Rich, is when you sit there and you think you've got a predictive play down, your opponent's already one step ahead of you, Hunter comes out in defense, no sir, we're just going to poison that out, and then we're going to go back on offense. Really, really smart adjustments by Vitor, which is what you have to do in CRL.
Hunter does get one shot on the right-hand side, so 1393. Question is there any chance of Vitor breaking, or of Kevin breaking past the bomb tower? Doesn't really feel like it. Gonna go ahead and drop here, and he's trying to get the Fisherman on the prospective bomb tower. Vitor, though, out of elixir.
Wow.
Sold out entirely on this offense, and this is huge for Kevin.
That is a massive moment for Kevin. Look at that. Earthquake comes in. We all know what's going to win this battle between Earthquake and Poison. Royal Hogs back down. Bomb Tower in response. This is going to become a cycle war here. Looking to get right back on defense. Here is Kevin. There it is. Heal Spirit in. Spear Goblins down. He Earthquakes out. Look at that. Sonic the Hedgehog back for one more game.
What a crazy decision from Vitor. I want to go back to where he played the graveyard on the left-hand side. I would love to see the view. We don't have the view, but see the view from their own hands, right? To see what was going on with the cycle there, because all Vitor had to do was not overcommit and play the bomb tower, and he just got caught out there.
I was really expecting him to have just enough elixir to get that bomb tower down. I mean, we know how much a graveyard costs. We know how much a bomb tower costs. We also are in double, triple elixir time, so he should be able to get there. But as you said, overspends on the left. Kevin defends just just barely well enough. I believe it was Spear Goblins plus a Heal Spirit. Very, very cheap, very efficient defense. And then, yeah, right back to it with the Royal Hogs Earthquake Cycle. Easy peasy.
So you see Graveyard Poison left-hand side, Spear Goblins go right into it, and this feels like it's game over.
Yeah.
Right? You have
I mean,
all of this
100%.
going to the left-hand... Yeah, it's all going to the left-hand side. You have a minute left, you're way up, you're ahead on Elixir. Pigs come in, and goes for 7 Elixir on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the whole story.
Exactly. He, instead of just letting that Mega Minion be the tank, he goes Mega Minion, Graveyard, throws the Barb Barrel down as well. You know he's got it back in cycle. You know he's got a way to keep this at bay. What is the decision-making going on in Vitor's mind? That's exactly where you expected the Bomb Tower to go before. And look, Kevin had a High Fisherman played. It's still better to play that Bomb Tower into the High Fisherman and then deal with the repercussions than to just not play a Bomb Tower at all. You know, like it's very simple.
Yeah, I mean, the Graveyard is the big issue there. I mean, I don't know what his cycle was, if maybe the Bomb Tower was 1 card away or 2 cards away. You Barb Barrel into those pigs. You just don't give them the opportunity there. So a bit of a mental error from Vitor at the end and open up the door for Kevin. He stepped right through it.
Yeah, 100%. So we will be seeing Sonic the Hedgehog for at least one more game today. And a surprise kind of mental mistake there by Vitor at the end sacrifices that game, which is not what Pain wanted right now after a very strong 2v2 set.
So here's an interesting note as well. If Pain can pull out the win today, that would eliminate 3 teams. It would eliminate Chivas, Tribe Game, or Chivas Team Liquid. I don't know where that just went.
Yeah, Tribe was like, what?
Nope.
What do you mean?
Tribe, wait. Okay, League Ops is actually telling us no to go hold on and wait on this one. So we'll get the actual information. I believe this is the case, though, that a Pain win today eliminates the bottom 3 from playoff contention.
Yeah, guys, if this is your first CRL season, this is the fun part of the season where Rich and I will say, well, if this happens, then this happens, but this might happen and this could change. We'll maybe come back to it, but that's the best thing about the end of the season is how much the standings go back and forth. As you saw today, a team dropping right out of that top playoff contention and a squad moving into second.
So coming up next is Sweep, I believe the lone Canadian in the league right now, carrying the mantle of his countryman B-Rad.
Yeah, a lot.
Yes, getting confirmation from League Ops that a Pain game in today would eliminate the bottom 3 teams from playoff contention. So you imagine that all 3 of those teams sitting here hoping that Chivas takes the W today.
And not a great defense there by Kevin. Just not any of the things that he wanted to kind of go his way. The E-Way's not getting as much value. The Royal Ghost, you know, getting caught on the Royal Giant instead of the Barbs. And just had to overspend there and take a ton of damage.
Sweep did just restart his Twitch channel, moving to a new address. I'm not sure which one it is, but go ahead and check out Sweep on Twitter to find out where his new Twitch channel is. And on Twitter, he would be @SweepMM. So go ahead and follow him. Lots of fun gameplay there on his streams.
There we go. Royal Giant to the right-hand side. Great coast-to-coast pull there. Going to go to the left-hand tower now. Gets 1 shot in. And selling out to 0 is Sweep.
Yeah, I mean, saw an opportunity, decided to go for it and push hard. And he's going to have to find some way to counter the Royal Ghost when it goes the opposite direction, but should be absolutely fine, especially when you get that left-hand tower down to 438.
Yeah, I was going to say Barb Barrel probably comes in. He puts his hand up, happy about that +1 trade and the massive, massive damage lead he has. If I'm Sweep now, what do I do? Other than take a yawn because he is in cruise control mode, is just sit back and do exactly what you see. Spell cycle out. Get these Barb Huts on the board, cycle cards in the back, make sure your Fisherman's in hand when you need it, and you got the win.
And the Royal Ghost, I guess maybe trying to get tower damage here is the main goal, but you see the E-Wiz coming in and the Barb Hut going to do its play. So Fireball does come in, Royal Ghost does get 1 swing, no Royal Giant shot in, and things are looking worse and worse right now for Kevin.
Yeah, you can imagine Sweep maybe got a little bit more taken away on that right-hand tower than he would have liked, but right back on offense, naked Royal Giant left-hand side, easy, easy tower take, keeps up the pressure on the right, 10 seconds remain, and no way for Sonic to take the win here.
Yeah, just not worried about it. Barb Hut is a pretty strong counter to the Royal Giant. Add in a Fisherman and an E-Wiz for control. Pretty solid matchup here for Sweep. Kevin just not able to hold on in the early moments.
Well, Rich, it definitely has been the day of the Royal Giant and the Royal Ghost. And it's very curious if we're going to start to see just these direct response. I mean, Barb Hut has already been so very popular in the meta because of Graveyard and 2v2 and just in the meta period. But now you see Royal Giant just being a dominant force. Feels like we've seen him in almost every single game today.
Yeah, it has been a Royal Giant fest. But doesn't work out here for Kevin R. Hey, look, we saw Royal Giant lose in this matchup, so that's nice to see here. We're going to go ahead and... maybe I wonder if we're going to jump into those opening moments between Sweep and Kevin and take a look at how that first big chunk on the left-hand side got taken out there by the Canadian player. Sweep hasn't had the season that maybe he wanted to, 2v2 not going the way he had hoped, but now pulling his weight 2-1 so far in King of the Hill.
So here we go, Rich. This is actually after the big onslaught came in from Sweep, but if you kind of look at what's happening, I think this is pretty similar to what we saw before. I think the Fisherman was cycled in the lane that they didn't want. The Hunter was not in an opportune position in the very first defense. I think the Ewiz came down in the middle with the Royal Ghost, and it was just maybe having a really bad starting hand cycle after those cards were out of play. But honestly, we'd have to go back and look at it for me to be 100%. Here we go. Royal Ghost on top of the Royal Giant. Electro Wizard up high, and it's just so much damage in. And the other part of it is that the Barbarian is on top of the Electro Wizard and not the Royal Ghost. So this counter push becomes completely dead on the vine.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You see the Ewiz damage being split between the Royal Giant and the single Barbarian, so that's a big thing as well. It's a pretty big swing for Pain Gaming, who takes Kevin off the board and now evens things up here in our King of the Hill set after a bit of a opening set stumble. And you like the confidence out of Sweep here, and this is why you talk about a team game. Vitor struggled in this one, and you'd love to see Pain Gaming take it in the King of the Hill here so that Vitor doesn't have to come back out in 1v1 after maybe a tilting moment in game number 1 of King of the Hill.
Yeah, and if you talk about where they're at in comparison to their opponents in Chivas Esports, you know, they really need those sets. They want to help their set differential out. So winning this in 2 is very important. So now Mario back up to the plate, up against Sweep, the Canadian himself. Pompeo, bottom of your screen if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Sweep at the top here. Big moment for Pain Gaming.
You know, you talk about like Mario, Luigi, Pompeo feels like it actually is a name that fits in to that overall canon as well. So if there was a P on top of his hat, I'd be totally fine with it.
Barb Hut meeting Barb Hut, no surprise here. It is the Barb Hut meta, and I'll be honest, Rich, I don't complain much about this game, but the Barb Hut meta is just one thing that I am always excited to see come and go.
I'm excited to see it go way more than come. So yeah, get Barb Huts. It's just a card that slows down the game in a way that's different from the way that beatdown cards slow the game down, right?
Yeah.
The beatdown cards slow the game down, but they create a true offensive presence, whereas the Barb Hut just slows the game down. You know, it's a card that's in the game. It has to be viable to some certain degree, but it's one of those ones that you're never sad to see a nerf for.
Yeah, because it becomes, instead of about, like, creating offense and defense, it just becomes all about management.
Is Sweep really?
Maybe.
Going?
There it is.
Oh my lord.
The cheese.
Man, we all were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
Well, Rich, it wouldn't be Halloween without a little bit of horrifying things happening, and here we go. The Stinky
my
Cheese
gosh.
on the board, the Battle Healer, the Double Dragons. You see it, the E-Golem up front with the Barb Hut on the map. Nothing but disgust from us in the announcer booth here, but you know what? Sweep, smile on his face, goes, hey, I'm happy with it. I'll take the win. I'll take the tower.
Look, it's a deck. It exists. You know, people will face it. I faced it yesterday in a challenge, and I was kind of surprised to see it. Of course, the guy BM'd me the entire way through because that's what you do. I'm actually kind of surprised at the patience here, or the maturity of Sweep not to just be throwing emotes the entire way out. I thought that was a requirement of playing Eagle and Battle Healer.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy we do have a player cam because you can see how much he is just living for this horrible deck. So, Barb Hut, Fireball, E-Dragon, Tornado, all going to make breaking through with those Royal Hogs near impossible, especially with that first tower down already. And of course, you talk about that Fireball being in the deck. Look at that, taking the Zappy off the board, taking the Flying Machine off the board, which is the most important part. this just seems impossible for Pompeo.
This is a good push from Pompeo. I don't know if it'll accomplish a ton here, but you see it was well constructed, but well constructed is only going to do so much against this situation.
Yep, Baby Dragon down, Barb Hut's behind. You see them going to get probably on top of that flying machine. Maybe an E-Golem comes in the pocket just because he can. No, he decides not to. That's going to be it. Ticking away. Pain Gaming back in command here in set number 2.
Sweep goes with the semi-pro special and gets a pro win here. 2 down and a chance for him to live up to his name potentially for the first time this season.
Wow, semi-pro special might be my favorite name for that deck ever. That is definitely perfect name. And you see him right there tapping the temple. Yes, Sweep, good job. Very, very smart of you to play the E-Golem Double Dragon deck. He takes the win here, 2 in a row. And as you said, looking to earn that namesake. And this was the moment I think all of us maybe felt a little nauseous.
Yeah, it never feels good. Feels Bad Man should be the official name of responding to this deck, and it's just I don't know what they can do about it. Yeah. I don't know what you do about. This is just one of those decks where this combination works, and if you get the right matchup, this combination is devastating. I think that's why it's so polarizing, Andrew, is because it never feels like you have a shot against it. It feels like either you're going to dominate this deck or get dominated by this deck, and that's what's so polarizing about it.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, and that's one of those things that is so frustrating against playing this deck is that you either, you can pretty much tell very early on if you've either won or if you've lost. And in that situation, Pompeo here is in CRL. He's going to do everything he absolutely can. I wonder if he was just playing at home, if he would have just turned his phone off after that first tower take, just because it's such a bad situation to be in. There's no way to recoup when there's that much on the board still after a tower take, and you have to spend even more to make sure that you protect your king tower just in case you're able to extend your life. It's just all bad all day. So Sweep brings out the stinky cheese in game number 2. Probably won't see it again in game number 3, but you never know. And speaking of game number 3, Diego B back in a very, very familiar position.
Yeah, back in the position where he has to do a whole lot, and that's been the story of Diego B for Chivas Esports so far this season. 57% win rate on the season overall, and he's been pretty good in King of the Hill, and of course great in 2v2 pretty much throughout the season, but it just has not been enough. And we talked about leaning on one player, and it's worked out pretty well for Queso. Has not done the same thing for this team this year.
Yeah, and as we're waiting to hop in here to this next game, it looks like it's about to come up right now. It's interesting, if you look on Twitter, we saw a couple people over the last few weeks, including someone like Javi Catorce, talking about Diego B's success himself with Chivas and Team Liquid's struggle this season in King of the Hill and 2v2. You wonder if dropping Diego B or trading Diego B was actually kind of the nail in the coffin of Team Liquid, considering how well he's been playing. And exactly, he's the perfect puzzle piece for what Liquid is missing right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There's no way to answer that one, but unfortunately that move hasn't worked out for either team so far. And right now what has worked out for Pain Gaming, though, is this complete, call it a rework of the team. Sweeping the slate clean, if you will, and replacing their veterans with a bunch of rookies.
Yeah, and you love when they did it, right? They did it in match 5, I believe. Let me hop over here just to make sure that I'm not speaking incorrectly here, but match 5. That was when we saw Lucas and Walsh come out in that 2v2, and you saw them kind of trying to change things up, throughout with their lineup in King of the Hill. But as for the big facelift, that was when it happened.
And maybe a bit of a troll here from Sweep. Did he just go ahead and copy deck?
It does.
I don't remember if
it does look like it.
Did Diego have the recruits last game? That's why I can't remember.
Yes, he did.
I have such a short memory. He did. Okay. So, if there's one word you use to describe Sweep, I think it's cheeky. This is a guy who will give the grin to the camera, make some moves, and yeah, that's a lot of fireball value.
Yeah, that was a brilliant fireball bar barrel combination. Comes in right back on offense. Is Sweep Heal Spirit behind Diego B going to go for the King Tower activation after taking well over 1,000 damage on that Princess Tower?
Yeah, not happy about it is Diego in a rough spot, and you see the crying emote, the angry emote, just about everything right now for Diego B, and just about everything going wrong this season for Chivas Esports.
Yeah, I mean, look right now, you know, Sweep's got this Barb Hut, so the EQ is going to help with that a little bit, but you talk about needing spell power, and that's what Diego does not have to help with the Royal Hogs, to help with the Royal Recruits, you know, to help with the flying machine, most importantly.
And that was the big thing the last game, was that Sweep had the fireball for his opponent's flying machine, and it was pretty devastating. It made it so that he was able to control the air consistently. Not the same thing for Diego in this situation.
Yeah, exactly, because that flying machine in the back, how on earth is Diego going to get to that flying machine? I'll tell you, he's not. The only way he gets to that flying machine is dropping an E-Wiz up high or a Royal Delivery on top of it once it's crossed the river. So just a horrible position to be in for Diego.
And recruits come down, and they're going to do some distraction on that E-Wiz. Look at that. Heal Spirit gets the flying machine back up. Absolute nightmare for Diego B. And it's looking more and more like Sweep is going to have a potential 1-2-3 in King of the Hill.
100%. Look at everything on the board. An ocean of red, and that was a very, very brilliant recognition by Sweep. We called it play-by-play here in the booth. We knew that the only way, and you see there Sweep very, very happy about what Pain has done in the last few weeks. He knew the only way to get to that flying machine was exactly what we said, Rich. It was either going to be a Royal Delivery on top or a high E-Wiz. So what does he do? He meets his Sweep, is really, really enjoying his first sweep here. And you know what? You got to give credit to the rookie. You got to give credit where credit is due. He fought that battle at the bridge. He singled out that E-Wiz. He kept his flying machine alive, and he takes the win because of it.
Yeah, absolutely massive for Sweep. And this is the guy who, you know, of all the players on Pain Gaming, you've wondered where his position would end up on the team after being removed from 2v2. Here you go. Comes out and gets a big sweep, and, you know, we'll look at the standings at the end of the day, but a huge sweep given the fight they are in for that number 6 playoff spot.
Yeah, so, and also you see here Diego B using the Electro Wizard early on top of the flying machine there. So maybe Sweep also knew that it wasn't going to be that delivery that came down. This is the very first back and forth that came in. Bar Barrel plus Fireball makes easy cleanup. Diego B decides to go a different route with the King Tower activation, but one thing you never want to do is overspend on defense for a King Tower activation that still allows a substantial amount of damage in. So here we go, Rich. This is the flying machine E-Wiz battle.
Yeah, and there's no way to get to it. This same flying machine is on the board for, it might be centuries at this point. Check it out. The E-Wiz comes down, gets some damage, but the delivery ends up hurting because the Heal Spirit gets it back up on health in time for the E-Wiz to get taken off the board. And as you said, an ocean of red, Andrew. There's just nothing Diego can do at this point.
Yeah, and when you know that when a flying machine is still on the board and you have to play a building directly into the range of the flying machine with no support or no defense on top of it to take it off the board, you've lost the game, because it's a desperation move that you have to play because, you know, self-preservation. You don't want to lose, but there's actually no way to win at that moment. When you're sending down to 0 with that much on the board, flying machine taking your building off with Royal Hogs ensuing, just really brilliantly played by Sweep. Great matchups throughout, but also really, really nicely played.
Yeah, that's about it. Great matchups, really nicely played. And we've talked about this, Andrew. Of course, the gameplay of Pain Gaming overall has come a long way from match number 1 against Spacestation, where you saw everyone be a little bit shaky in that early gameplay. But also the matchmaking has gotten much better for Pain Gaming. They've been doing a good job of deck selection over the last couple of weeks. And, you know, you think in some ways, you almost say that Sweep would thank Vitor for the bit of a mistake to give him a big shot to step up today.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point to make because, you know, Sweep, as you said, has had a lot of trouble finding his home here on Pain Gaming since being moved out of 2v2. And what a great way for him to really reestablish himself for his squad. And now Pain Gaming firmly in that playoff hunt, just like these next 2 squads, maybe not in the playoffs right now, is Dignitas in 7th place, but firmly in the hunt, of course, and then Spacestation Gaming fully represented. Their whole squad has been here for quite some time, and they have been very successful ever since. You see right now, Spacestation, Rich,
well,
you gotta slow
feel
down.
like they're really ready to get ready for our 3rd match of the day. Can Dignitas beat Spacestation Gaming, or will they be eliminated? I have no idea.
Stop drinking.
3 to 5 minutes from absolute glory or from the most crushing defeat he would ever experience in his entire life.
I mean,
Andrew. That's how I'd label it.
This is a make or break moment for both these guys. I mean, if Rockstar loses this, who knows if anyone will watch one of his YouTube videos again. This is more than they both signed up for, I think, Rich.
Yeah, the highest stakes battle of all time. And Rockstar going with the Electro Dragon in that situation. Andrew, is it Rockstar going stinky cheese here?
I've seen this combination before, and I don't like it, Rich. That's how I feel about it thus far. You got the double dragons on the board with the lumberjack. I think I'm feeling a little bit of that stinky cheese. Graveyard on the other side of it, though, fares pretty well.
And NATO's all that together. Not going to help as much as maybe Rockstar would have liked. And now a little bit of action going the opposite direction. Bowler. Okay, this is fun.
Bowler. One of my least favorite cards to play against. Yeah, Bowler Loon here. This is such an interesting deck for Rockstar to have chosen. I kind of love it.
I think someone ran this, though, in week 1 of CRL this season. I can't remember who it was, but I do believe we actually saw this in Clash Royale League play earlier on this season. Now, Andrew, I'm a big fan of the Bowler, even though it doesn't get a whole lot of love. As you know, my original comfort deck from 3 years ago was Bowler Bow Miner.
Yeah, and then did you go to Bowler Pump Bow, like, for a little while, or did you swap?
I didn't bring the Bowler along with that one, which I just went to straight up Pump Bow for a minute. This was all before Expo was really, really frustrating everybody. Don't hate me. 11-27 to 14-16, and a lot on the board right now for Fernando.
Yeah, Bowler Loon here going to connect on that right-hand side, even though Fernando still has the lead. And yeah, Bowler is a really interesting, unique card. I kind of hate the Bowler and the Executioner just because they do so well against like what my classic Mortar Bait deck was. So even though I actually enjoy the Bowler as a card, it's one that whenever I see it, kind of like, I'm not always happy to see that man, that purple man.
I get it. I absolutely get it. 2 dragons down. Poison going for a whole lot of value right now. And will he protect the Musketeer? Yes, he will. How much will the tiny snowman work here, though?
Yeah, great chain lightning there from this Electro Dragon. The freeze comes in, that dirty freeze. I believe we're going to be going to a 2-tower game. Maybe Fernando does stop the damage in from there, so still alive. Still alive.
3:17, final 15 seconds of regulation. This might be the difference maker for Fernando. A lot of skeletons getting some decent damage on the back, but the combination of the Electro Dragon and the Bowler are able to clean most of that up. Don't make a mistake with that Barbarian. Nope, it does go down. So here we are, sudden death overtime. Next tower means that's going to be it. Can he avoid the big freeze play that you expect coming in?
Look at that. Late Goblin Hut pulls the balloon to the side. How is this going to be stopped? It isn't. Rockstar takes the break time battle.
All right, you are now all required to sub to Rockstar's YouTube. That was the contract you signed by watching this. Congratulations, bud, and we will see you back here with more Clash Royale in just a moment. Welcome back for our final match of the day, a very important one for both teams involved. On one side, you got Spacestation Gaming fighting for a shot at making it into the top 2 squads, a chance to get a playoff berth or a World Finals berth secured early on. And Dignitas now, after that Pain Gaming win, in a very, very tough spot, back to the wall here. And I don't know the exact numbers. I'm getting confirmation from League Ops right now, but this might be a must-win today.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about what Pain Gaming has done in their last few matches, turning things completely around. Well, that's kind of the story for Dig as well. Losing to Team Queso, Pain, and Tribe over their last 3, really struggling in the 2v2 and in that head-to-head set. They haven't been able to pick up a head-to-head set since their last one when Bale took down Adrian against Chivas in their 4th matchup. So nothing but trouble lately for Dig at 3 and 4, really needing to turn things around if they actually want to consider playoffs as a potential. Like you said, Pain Gaming make it really, really tough for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, it looked for a little while like Dignitas had a pretty clear road to the top 6, right? After 4 matches, they were 3-1. Then they got swept by, or they got reverse swept by Team Queso after a King of the Hill sweep by JP, and then the 2-0 win over Bale by Ruben, and then the Pain Gaming loss. That really was, I think, the most important match for both of these squads. Pain put themselves in the hunt and put Dignitas firmly in the chase, and right now Dignitas is just fighting for their playoff hopes.
Well, what's interesting when you look at Dignitas' sheet here, Rich, and you and I, we keep track of all this stuff here, you definitely more than myself. There's a lot on this page for Dignitas, and that seems correct, right? They've played 7 matches. It makes sense. Well, what I'm getting at here is they've gone to that 3rd set so many times, 5 out of their last 7, or out of their 7 matches. The only times they've ever won a match is when Bale has stepped up in that 3rd and final set. So that is going to be their key to victory today, is to basically make it through the first 2, and then Bale has to come out on top in the 1v1.
And that's a tough ask there, Andrew. Either way, whichever direction we go in, beating this team in 2v2, a tough ask for Dignitas. Beating them in King of the Hill, a tough ask for Dignitas. And then that 1v1, you're up against either Lapo or Sam. That's hard.
Here we go. SSG and Dig. Let's do this.
Dig took a crushing loss last weekend and really can't afford to lose again today, but they're up against Space Station, who have a shot at a first-round bye in the top 2 position. This really feels like it's Space Station's match to win.
Space Station looking to hold on to that number 2 spot, or steal that number 2 spot, I should say, and Dignitas on the other side of it trying to squeeze their way into playoffs.
Dignitas contra Space Station. A Dignitas está com nível caindo a cada semana, enquanto que a Space Station está tentando se manter no topo da tabela.
Bom, nesse confronto eu acho que a Space Station leva vantagem. Vai levar vantagem sobre a Dignitas, isso vai ser bom até pra PEN, que briga aí por clasificação com a Dignitas. Vamos ver se a Dignitas consegue surpreender.
Dignitas tuvo un buen comienzo, iba 3-1, pero la verdad es que a medida que fue jugando viene en descenso. De ese lindo nivel que mostraron al principio se nos viene cayendo. Ahora Space Station están... Space Station está luchando la clasificación a Worlds.
Para mí, el partido más importante de esta jornada. Así de sencillo. Space Station necesita ganar este partido para seguir luchando, como les dije, contra el ganador del primer partido de este sábado por ese puesto directamente para ir a Worlds. Pero Dignitas, ya después de 3 derrotas consecutivas, en el caso de perder y Pain haber ganado, ya estarían para su casa.
So here we go, match number 3 on the day. Dignitas up and down and up and down, and getting word now from League Operations, if Dig loses, they could still end up in a 3-way tie with Pain and Cream Royale Betis. So we'll get more information on how that might play out when we see Cream come out tomorrow. But of course, they don't want to put themselves in that situation. These 4, Flash and Cody Go, the 2v2 duo, Bale, the 1v1 star, Lindsay, who has stepped up in moments. They really want to take control of their destiny, if they can, with a win here today.
And it's going to be really, really tough against the Space Station Gaming squad, winning 4 out of their last 5 matches. Their only match loss was a dominant one by SK Gaming, taking 5 games to 0 over Space Station. But otherwise, Lapo, the God RF, Samuel, and Akrap have been on fire this season. And honestly, the God RF really vying for the MVP slot for the entirety of CRL West Fall. But right now, Space Station Gaming at the top, looking to get in that second spot, as he said, 5-2, ready to do this thing. Let's look at our 2v2 duos and our bans. There it is. Graveyard being banned by Codigo and Flash. People are sick and tired of seeing it. So RF and Akrap gonna get rid of the Giant Skeleton. 2 very popular cards in both of our 2v2 sets thus far today.
This does mean Tornado is on the board, so that will be an interesting wrinkle as we jump into this 2v2. It's not often you see it in play. Expect to see a bunch of Tornado today. Andrew, talking about the stakes for Space Station Gaming. With Tribe winning today, Space Station has to win today. And if they win tomorrow and Tribe, or if they win next weekend and Tribe loses, Space Station would take control of that number 2 spot and get an automatic World Finals berth. But because Space Station lost to both SK and Tribe right now in control of that number 2 position.
Yeah, what's really interesting about these squads here at the top is that most of these guys have already taken the championship in the West. They want that world title. They want that finals berth, the world championship berth. And you know what? They're fine. They're happy getting into playoffs, but they need to go to Worlds. So all of these sets are ever important, even for a squad that's doing very well.
Golem versus Lava Hound. Is this 2018, Andrew?
It seems like it, except for the Fishermen, and they're going to change things up a little bit for RF and AC, getting that King Tower activation in. And right now, Lava Hound, actually having more success than Golem in the left-hand lane.
Lava Hand does sound like a great idea for a new spell to pitch. It just comes out and slaps a bunch of troops with some burn damage.
So here we go, E-Dragon up high, right on top of that Inferno. However, the E-Dragon's splash should not continue. No, it does not. There you go.
Golem Quadruple Prince. All right, Andrew, we are a bit of a throwback here with some new pieces, of course. And we'll see if Space Station get the damage back. 1370 top right-hand side. The flying machine should make things fairly even down on the bottom left.
Yeah, really fascinating matchup here. You definitely have to give Codigo and Flash a little bit of a nod for having so much air support. It's going to be nice for them going up against this Lava Hound deck. And on the other side of that, you do see a good amount of cards on the ground for RF and AC, but they really need to figure out how to control all of these princes.
Yeah, I just wonder how much they've run this matchup this season, right? They're kind of talking about my guess is they're discussing strategy on the fly right now, going, okay, like what do we do here? Let's remember how we're supposed to separate everything.
Yeah, that's true. It is very, it's something that they haven't faced in a very long time. So great damage in on the right, coupled with that fireball to help that little bit of DPS, extra DPS come in, and then Golem on the left.
950 left-hand side. Meyer going to come in low, and they're maybe hoping for that NATO to be played there. And you see that Dignitas does not fall for the bait. They choose to get rid of to sack that tower and plan to get things back on the right-hand side, but it's going to be not entirely easy. Electro Dragon trying to stun enough. Will this right-hand tower go down, or will we end right here? 4 seconds left. Fireball trying to make some room.
There it is!
And we're going to sudden death.
Oh my goodness. Crap, and RF cannot be too happy about that. They felt like they had it locked down. A great high Dark Prince, but somehow that Baby Dragon Belch comes in those final moments. Now we have ourselves in a 2-tower game across the board. Lava Hound against Golem Double Prince. A very tough spot, in my opinion, for AC and RF.
Here we go. 2 princes on the left-hand side. Golem raged up in front of all that. Fisherman trying to separate some pieces here. 1337 left-hand side, and a nice Fisherman pull there to keep that death damage off tower. And right now, things looking like they might be going the way of Space Station Gaming.
Yes, they are. I'm eating my words, and I'm okay with it. That Fisherman, a great equalizer in keeping that Golem off of the tower. That death damage is brutal. Great plays by RF and Crap. Honestly, the Electro Dragon on both sides of the board was such a crucial card. Definitely ended up being more important for Space Station just because of all of those princes.
So fascinating, Andrew. You know, we talk about the shifting and swirling meta of the game, and in 2v2, you know, we haven't seen a ton of Electro Dragon. We've seen some. We've seen almost no Golem at all in this season, whether it be in 2v2 play or head-to-head play. And here we come out seeing a bit of all of these pieces in this opening game.
Yeah, really, really surprising. But, you know, we've seen Electro Dragon more and more over the last couple weeks. And as of today, and I think maybe a little bit last week, we're starting to see more Ice Wizard as well. So more and more control being provided with all of these decks that, you know, there's so much happening on the ground. This deck is a very unique one from Kodigo and Flash, but for the most part, we're seeing so many 6-mans and Royal Giants, Giant Skeletons. You start to maybe understand what these deck compositions and the changing of the meta. But look at that. Once again, the Fisherman comes in, pulls the Golem away. Kodigo and Flash have to overspend to get that tower down. And it's, you know, same, you know, second verse, same as the first. The Fisherman just got done pulling the Golem away from the tower, and then what's been working down this right-hand side finally comes through.
It was a nice NATO play, I believe, by Kodigo there to get the splash damage on tower and make sure we extended, but in the end, AC and RF able to pull out the victory, and this is what you expected from Spacestation Gaming, and this is what they need to do if they want to stay in the fight for that automatic berth to World Finals.
The Rage spell from Kodigo, I'm not sure how many times we actually saw that played last game. I'm wondering if there were moments when they could have used it a little bit more opportunely at the bridge, but again, it becomes really, really tough when you've got that Golem being pushed by those princes and they're all getting stunned by the Electro Dragons. So really, really nice play there by Spacestation.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if Flash and Kodigo maybe go back to it again, feel like their opponents might not be entirely prepared for it, and great mid-game adjustments, of course, by AC and RF to, again, my guess here is unless they have some of the best analysis of the year, they did not expect to be against this Golem quadruple Prince deck.
Yeah,
this is not what they were planning for, so really nice way to get on it here in game one.
Yeah, and you know, and if we're going to hop into the next game here, we can just kind of continue our thoughts. I'm wondering if maybe it would have been interesting to see Clone come out in that Golem deck. You know, Poison maybe not being played as much because Graveyard's banned, and of course Giant Skeleton not being in play. You can get a lot more value out of those units crossing the bridge. So Kodigo and Flash going right back to it. Looks like AC and RF might as well.
Yeah, this is what I was wondering. This is what I was thinking. And I think that one of the things that Kodigo and Flash saw is that they have the Electro Dragon can control the Inferno Dragon if they play it correctly and protect it well enough. So we'll see if they feel like they had a better gist of it this time around than last time. And this should be another King Tower activation early in the game.
Yeah, early King Tower activation. This is already looking very, very similar to what we saw in the last game. But now we see Kodigo and Flash maybe supporting this left-hand push with a second Baby Dragon. Electro Dragon comes out in response.
Curious to see if AC and RF protect this Electro Dragon at all, or just let it go ahead and die. They're let it die on this side and go for some minor damage on the right-hand side. And again, not taking the early bait with the Tornado and activating King Tower is Dignitas.
I'm kind of surprised Dig just like casually cycled that Baby Dragon to the left-hand side instead of the right. They knew that there was going to be something coming out in response to the first Baby Dragon. They knew that it was going to be easy to defend as they're low DPS. They're going to have the help from the Princess Tower. Would have just felt smarter to maybe cycle it to the right-hand side just to see what their opponents did.
And of course, putting that Golem on skates with the Prince behind it, and we've seen them doing this already throughout the first match of the day, and you see nice placement on the Electro Dragon right now from Dig. Yeah. This is going to be a pretty significant push here for Kodigo and Flash.
Yeah, this is trouble here. You see both these dragons caught up by the Electro Dragon at the bridge. Baby Dragon on the back end playing some strong defense, but the thing is even though it's just a Lava Hound, when you ignore a Lava Hound for that long, which is what's happened in both of these games, somehow, some way, 50 units on the board for Dig and only 1 on the board for SSG, and SSG still in the damage lead.
You know, Andrew, the one thing the one criticism I have, you see the Prince, I believe, go ahead and leave the Golem here for that miner. So a nice miner by Spacestation, really smart miner by Spacestation. And you see them double up on the Princes behind the Golem. This feels gimmicky out of Dignitas, right? They're going for the, let's make the Golem go really fast, and here's the Rage spell. It feels more like they're hoping the gimmick pays off and they're looking to outplay Spacestation.
Well, I mean, they need to do something a little bit differently, at least in these games. Like, maybe the matchup advantage is just not there for them because of what's happening here on the board, but you can't just drop everything on one side of the board against Spacestation Gaming in 2v2 and expect it to win. It's just not going to happen. They're too good. They've been playing together for too long. And if you talk about the beginning of their career, this is what they started off with. This is their bread and butter, is defending this double golem push with princes, but now they have a fisherman. So all trouble for Dig.
Yeah, I really did like that miner a lot to break up that last push. And you're playing two different games. You're playing with two guys who are totally on the same page, able to adjust on the fly. And you saw Dignitas do the same thing so much that when the miner broke up the prince push behind the golem, they went and doubled down and put a prince and a dark prince behind that golem. Like, it seemed like they just had one thing they wanted to do, and when they didn't get to do it, they wanted to make it happen more. It was a strange situation, and you're just seeing that the levels to this game when it comes to the 2v2 game mode.
Well, and one thing that I'm really surprised by, and Rich, this is that exact moment you're talking about. Miner comes out left-hand side, pulls the prince around, they double down, second prince down, there's the dark prince with this heal spirit behind, but again, one Electro Dragon up high keeps all of this at bay. You throw that tornado in there, you throw in a late goblin cage, whatever you need, and it just becomes super, super easy to clean up. And that fisherman's just hanging out. You know what needs to happen is we need to see something else going on the right side of the board from Codigo and Flash. Look, the Prince and the Dark Prince are two cards that can create a massive amount of presence for pretty cheap. You've got to somehow figure out a way to utilize that in 2v2. You can't just put everything behind the golem and expect it to win. Or if you are going to do that, put half as much behind the golem and consistently cycle golems on the board. You've got to do one of the two, but what you're doing or what they just didn't work out. And again, trying that against Spacestation Gaming, you're asking yourself to lose that set.
Yeah, never going with the other lane with the pressure. So Dignitas goes 0-2 in the 2v2, and now they have the tough ask of having to beat one of the more stacked King of the Hill rosters in RF, Lapo, and Samuel. And then if you can get past that, it's Lapo or Samuel in the 1v1. So things looking worse and worse for Dignitas in this Week 7 matchup. I guess the big question for Dig now is, what do they do for King of the Hill? Is it going to be Codigo in the lead off or at the back end, and Bale and Lindsay somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see there. And, you know, Lindsay playing better in King of the Hill has been a nice moment for Dignitas. But when you talk about their opponents, right? I mean, their worst guy is Samuel Basoto, who has been really struggling this season in head-to-head play. King of the Hill, he's 1-4, and 1v1 is 2-3. But we still know what Samuel can do. If you look at the other guys this season, the God RF basically at 70% in head-to-head, and Lapacati at 71% in head-to-head. That's where it feels vastly, vastly different in the level of skill. That's where you see those numbers, and you just look at the numbers alone, and you see a difference of like 30, 40, 50%. I don't know how you make up for that other than divine intervention.
Yeah, I mean, RF is insane this season. Sweep after sweep after sweep. And of course, it's almost one of those things where I feel like Lapo and Samuel are saying, hey, leave us a little bit to play at this point. So a tough spot here for Dig to battle back. And then, of course, you know what Spacestation is going to do. Most likely going to throw RF in that anchor spot, as they have often. Of course, they could choose to, my guess is they go Samuel, Lapo, and RF, or Samuel, RF, Lapo.
Yeah, and as you can see right there on the screen, that's exactly what they're going to do, Rich, is they're going to come out with Samuel first because of probably what you're talking about. Give me a chance to get warmed up, bro. You've been doing too much out there in 2v2 and King of the Hill. So RF moving into that second slot. Lapo Cati in the last spot. I like Lapo there because if he wins, he's going to be riding high, and a confident Lapacati is very hard to beat. If he loses, he knows that he's got someone else that can go in that set if he wants. But let's get to the game here. Look at this. Codigo just sacrificing an immense amount of damage on that right-hand side.
Yeah, absolutely brutal opening here for Codigo, and Samuel going with the graveyard deck that's been fairly popular today.
Yeah, Codigo goes Barb Hut, cycled to the left with a Barb Barrel there, and then he got an Ewiz and a Mega Mania for defense against a very, very aggressive graveyard push here from Samuel. Rough start.
Yeah, rough indeed, and you definitely don't want to let Samuel get in momentum. Of course, we've talked about it quite a bit, but this is one of the greatest. Certainly, I think that there was a list put out. I can't remember who put it out. Maybe it might have been Royale API or Stats Royale, or somebody put out this list that was the top ladder players of all time based on their finishes, and Samuel's one of those guys who's in the mix. And it requires so much focus, so much skill to do that over so many years.
Well, and I think that's why you and I don't hit sell on Samuel when we look at his numbers this season. 25% in King of the Hill, I think 30% something in 1v1. But it's because of his success in ladder, and that's, again, a thing that Trainer Luis has talked a lot about with why he likes ladder players, is you've got to be pretty dang mentally tough to continue to get to the top of that leaderboard.
And that's a good place there, Andrew. Mental toughness is a real consistent thing for the players who perform at that level. And what's nice for Samuel is that even when he's not on fire, he's surrounded by so much talent. So someone can always pick up the torch and run with it. And of course, that has often been RF this season.
Yeah, and you know, you look at a team that's also got a similar kind of, the exact opposite kind of thing going on with Team Queso, and we're starting to see why it's harder for them to stay successful throughout. You know, SSG never relied solely on Samuel, AC, RF, or Lapo individually. They always relied on a team effort.
Royal Giant gonna get a couple shots here, though, getting past the bomb tower this time. And just like that, we are a lot closer. 778 on the right-hand side. Pretty good graveyard push coming in, and the bar putt to control the troops up high, bar barrel low to help clean up that graveyard. But this is going to be another significant push for the Brazilian.
Yeah, and a really, really nice poison for Samuel as well. You see that. Fisherman in the middle of it. He was up in it enough. I think he should be able to get a bar barrel in right on top. There it is, bar barrel in. Not right where he needed it, though. Very, very close. Maybe like a millisecond early, but still, Archers plus Bomb Tower are going to do some great, great cleanup, and you can see how frustrated Codigo is.
Yeah, he knows that one's over. Samuel comes out, good matchup, well played, and takes a big opening King of the Hill win against Codigo.
Yeah, it's a frustrating one for Codigo there, because if it weren't for that very, very first exchange, having the bar putt to the left and the Barbarian cycled out so that he was not able to defend the graveyard adequately, it felt like playing from behind that entire game really hamstrung him, as it usually does. I think the frustration on his face that we're seeing is he thinks he probably should have won that, had that very first thing not happened.
So taking a look at some of the numbers here, Samuel going with, again, this very popular version of Graveyard, very quick cycle. Of course, we've seen that some cards move in and out of this one. In particular, you know, might have seen some Valk versions of this one as well, but Samuel plays this one pretty much to perfection. And Andrew, here are those opening moments. Bar putt to the left, big push to the right.
Yeah, and you look and see what's out of cycle. Barb Hut and Barb Barrel both out of cycle. So what does he do? He's got to let all these units pile up so that he's able to actually get the Ewas down to clean all the units up. And that is not the counter push that you want to send across the bridge. That's not the way you want to defend early on. And that's not the way that you want to play when your deck is that heavy against this cheap of a graveyard deck.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, you know, part of you think about bar putt and you go, cool, I'm at 10, they make their move, let me cycle. Like, cycling bar putt as your first play just seems like one of those moves where 60% of the time it's the right move, but that 40%, it's so wrong that it absolutely punishes you, and we saw that here.
Yeah, you know, and he's got a few cards in his hand that are really hard to cycle early on. Barb Hut being one of them, like you talked about, the success rate of it probably more positive than negative, but then you look at some of the other cards in there, you don't want to cycle Royal Giant as your first card. You don't want to cycle Fisherman that early, so depending on what his opening hand was, he might have just been put in a very tough spot. So here we go. Codigo falls to Samuel. Samuel probably pretty happy about that win, and now it feels like what could be our 1v1 matchup later most likely will be, if we get there, for at least Dignitas in Bale.
Yeah, I mean, Bale has been the guy who Dig has had to lean on a bunch, and I think that one thing about Bale is this is a guy who was one of those semi-pros or pros outside of the CRL scene who people really thought deserved a shot at Clash Royale League. And win or lose for this season for Dignitas, I think that Bale comes out of this season overall as a winner. Acquitted himself very well in the 1v1 set, has shown that he belongs here, in my opinion. And that's a big step up, especially considering how rough the spring was.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talked about it earlier, Bale picking up those three wins, 2-0 over Adrian, 2-1 over Igor, and 2-1 over Pedro, in that nice 3-match win streak they were on. I'll be honest, I was really impressed and kind of surprised by how strong Bale played for a moment there, and now just needing to carry that through the rest of the season with this Hog triple spell deck.
And maybe going aggressive here with the Graveyard, and yes, very aggressive play from Samuel early on, and he has the first tank coming in from the Knight, and the Princess switches to the Mega Minion. So a lot of expenditure forced out of Bale on this opening defense.
Yeah, Bale down by 1, but does have the magic art, or excuse me, the Musketeer on the board. Maybe a Bar Barrel. Yep, Bar Barrel in response decides to take a shot to try to get one.
And just cycling that Heal Spirit to get the bomb tower down to pick that one up is Samuel. So Bale has to feel pretty good about that, knowing that Samuel was not in the ideal position, now has the 1.5 elixir lead for the Spaniard in this game number 2 of King of the Hill.
Yeah, 1.5 elixir lead. He's going to start cycling. Exactly. He's going to start cycling in the back now because he knows his opponent's bomb tower is out of cycle. And by the time that Samuel is able to get back around to the bomb tower, Bale will have more than enough elixir to have a big offensive push and get a graveyard down, because you see he's about to tick to 8. So Hog Rider maybe comes in here. No, he doesn't. He's gonna just stop. I like it. The poison makes that die on the vine from Samuel.
Bale with a little bit of elixir leakage here, and you see he still has an elixir lead, but you talk about that leakage and you kind of take 2 away from it. And you know he did want to get things sequenced correctly, and this is a more defensive Hog Cycle deck than other decks that cycle heavily in single.
Yeah, I kind of wish maybe on that last push he would have cycled Skeletons or something else behind the Knight instead of that Musketeer, probably knowing that there was going to be a poison in hand, and just like we said, it completely killed his push. So Bale trying to problem solve right now as we're waiting for Samuel to truly get on offense now with 30 seconds remaining in regulation.
Yeah, this is a tough situation here. You know, Bale, it's one of those ones where this is not a pressure in single deck, as we were saying earlier, but you also don't want to be giving too much opening for those triple elixir graveyards to come in heavy, heavy, heavy. So this next 60 seconds going to be very important for Bale to put some damage on that right-hand side.
Yeah, and here we go. Setting the line early and high is Bale. Knight up high, Musketeer to complement behind. Musketeer going to get cleaned off the board, though. No, Snowball comes in. Very, very nice Snowball, but Bale sacrifices a lot of damage, but gets some in return.
Yeah, has to spend those Skeletons to stop that Mega Minion from adding to it. So advantage starting to swing towards Samuel at this later stage in the game. Here we go, Hog Rider to the right-hand side, and Bomb Tower comes out on defense. And I like the patience here of Bale not playing Earthquake that time around, making sure he doesn't extend himself too far against what he knew was about to be a graveyard push.
Yeah, really, really imperative that he didn't do that. However, I don't know if he's going to be able to defend this. You see Skeletons there, Musketeer behind, Poison in, a lot of damage down, more than enough to defend on the other side. Earthquake going to come in to at least even it up a bit, but Archer's going to stop that Hog from getting a hit.
Oh, he really wanted that Hog shot on the right-hand side and decided not to spend too much there, but would have been huge for him. So here we go, 542, 307. Skeletons split in the middle. Bale trying to cycle pretty hard right now. Should expect to see a Hog to the right-hand side. There you go, controlling the Mega Minion. Graveyard in. Prediction Earthquake. Snowball trying to slow down that tower, and this could be a big one.
Wow, Bar Barrel comes in on top of those Archers. Everything being spent by Samuel, but look at that. Graveyard not going to be enough. Log comes in, and Bale stays strong somehow. Wow.
Great, great win by Bale in that one by 127 HP. And it really felt like maybe Bale was going to give that one up, but really good patience. I love the push where he didn't play the Earthquake. That was maybe 2 sequences before that, made sure he was stalwart on defense, and then got the lead on the later end.
Yeah, you know, and that started off with maybe almost a mistake by Bale, because I think he played his Hog Rider a second too early. The Mega Minion gets a shot on the Hog Rider, which maybe is why he decided not to go with that Earthquake, Rich, because, you know, the Hog already coming in with a little damage, knowing the Bomb Tower was going to be there. Even with the Earthquake, it wasn't going to get a hit, so instead he decides to hold back, like you said, defend that graveyard just barely enough. I mean, I think this is the defense right here. Knight, nope, excuse me. Knight Musketeer on the left-hand side, just kind of holding the line.
Yeah, and this Musketeer ends up putting a lot of pressure on Samuel as well, kind of stretching him thin. And this time you see the Hog, the EQ come in, the Snowball to the right-hand side, and this is where he defends that graveyard very, very well. And this Musketeer puts a ton on the left-hand side. I don't think Bale even realized that that left-hand tower was, for a second, lower than the right-hand tower. Doesn't matter. The triple spell cycle of this deck at the end is so devastating if you can get it done at the right moment.
Yeah, it's a really, really frustrating deck to play against. If they've gotten enough damage in from their Hog Rider earlier in the game, then they can find themselves in a position to just defend out, send in the Hog every now and then to make sure that you can't put too much on offense. And then, as you said, that spell cycle is relentless. It is impossible to keep up with in double and triple, and it does so very much damage.
So Bale with a pretty big win, taking Samuel off the board. This is, of course, what they need from him. So now all tied up in King of the Hill. And again, Dignitas has a long road ahead of them. And the big question that we've asked today earlier about Team Queso was, can they get one player to carry all the way through? And I think Dig asking that same question here is, can Bale get enough wins to at least get them out of King of the Hill and then come back and do it again in 1v1? So far off to a good start, and I like what I saw there. He seems composed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the God RF is a man that you're really going to want to hold your composure with. 3 King of the Hill sweeps on the season. 1 over Pain, 1 over Chivas, and 1 over Cream. Not easy to do by any means. The God RF been really hot in 2020.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and we've talked about it quite a bit. He would love to add a world championship to his season, and if he can pull that off, which is going to be tough considering the level of competition this year, it would arguably be the best year of any Clash Royale player, but a long road to get there.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point that you make. If he is able to put that all together, the God RF then would actually have the Triple Crown, the WCG, the World Championship, and of course CRL West NA.
So we saw a similar situation earlier today. This time, the Mega Knight doesn't get free to create a ton of trouble, and RF counter pushing with the Graveyard.
And you see Bale here picking the top of the screen where he wants to battle things out. Wants to make sure those Barbarians plus that Knight don't work towards the tower. So Hunter up high, Barb Barrel down low. You know, about 400 damage behind, but pretty nice defense there from Bale.
A little Elixir advantage right now for Bale as we go into the midway point of regulation time. Up by 1, but down on damage at the moment is the Spaniard.
Yeah, and it's never a good feeling to be playing RF when he's got Graveyard going. He just knows so many ways to punish you with it. He knows so... RF's patience is one thing that is pretty much unrivaled in all of CRL.
Well, to be a great Graveyard player, you have to be patient, right? That's one of those things. Is you know, the meta has shifted and been faster. People pull Graveyards out much earlier than they used to 2 years ago. Still doesn't matter. You have to be patient to play Graveyard well at this level, and that's what RF is. Great word for it.
Yeah, and look at what he's doing right now, Rich. Cycled Mega Minion back to the right. Cycled Baby Dragon back to the left. Knight up high. Ends up giving a lot of poison value, actually, with all of those things kind of working, getting bottlenosed into this bridge spot, but still not giving an inch to his opponent.
Good timing on the Barb Barrel to take care of the Heal Spirit. Final 30 seconds of regulation, 2166 to 1747, and the 6-time Orange Crown League MVP sets up his Mega Knight in the back on the right-hand side.
Yeah, once again, just doing it. He likes this. Mega Knight in the back, Baby Dragon behind, Knight up high, and if those things are able to work their way across the bridge, then he's going to get a Graveyard down. Now, if you talk about single target DPS, RF is in a pretty decent position with these Mega Knights just because he has that Mega Minion plus the E-Wiz. But Hunter on the other side with that E-Wiz, along with the Fisherman, making it very difficult to put together an offense.
Mega Knight this time cycled a little bit higher than in the last one. We'll see if this makes it harder for Bale to put enough behind, but wanted to make sure to win this fight.
Yeah, Bale really
Graveyard in.
Bale wanting to make sure that he doesn't get his Mega Knight caught behind the tower by an aggressive Graveyard from the God RF, because he needs that Mega Knight up high to be the tank.
Final 90 seconds of sudden death overtime. RF sets up his Barb Hut to the right-hand side. Baby Dragon will go down. Fisherman cycled in the back. Mega Knight right in front for Bale.
So with the 90 seconds left, these bridge battles are going to become very, very, very important because it's going to become a spell cycle race after a couple more Graveyards get down. Very little time left, and there you go. Bale goes first with his, getting great value. Baby Dragon, Barb Hut, Princess.
Graveyard in. E-Wiz already down, and poison in response from RF. Going to mitigate most of this damage. A couple skeletons do get through, though, and just enough to give the lead to Bale.
RF not going to go with the Graveyard here as he recognizes giving a ton of value to that Mega Knight. Trouble right now for the Space Station Gaming representative as Bale does go back on offense with that Graveyard. Barb Hut played in response. RF in trouble.
Yeah, Barb Hut trying to hold on here, and that's going to again be a lot of poison value for Bale. This tower in a world of hurt could not get one skeleton off. 303 remains. Bale in a great spot right now. RF responding with the Graveyard, but can he get enough on here?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that bridge battle, Rich, and it's becoming impossible to win here for the God RF. Yes, he's got Mega Minions down on the board to help with that Mega Knight, but he's got nothing on the ground to tank for his Graveyard. That Mega Knight has been so difficult for RF to deal with.
And that Knight cycle to the right, or to the left, was pretty much the end for the God RF, and you can see, not happy with that one is the God RF. Bale getting 2 in a row here.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that moment near the end where RF had to spend a lot on defense to make sure that his tower didn't go down. But what that did was it set it up for Bale to drop that second Mega Knight down on top of all those units crossing the bridge. No ability for RF to actually get the Graveyard in because he would have lost the game instantaneously had he done that. Bale, really, really nice deck selection here. And as you can see, it's all about that single target DPS at the bridge. And if you can look at the cards, Bale has that in spades when you consider that Mega Knight drop.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the action here. And you can see good separation being done by Bale. Of course, Mega Knight comes in high. The Fisherman on the bottom pulls some of that away, but this is, again, we've seen it today. A Mega Knight healthily getting across the bridge, getting into the mix, whether it's tanking or not, just so hard to deal with when you're playing against Graveyard.
Yeah, and in any desperation situation, when you see a Barb Hut being played up high and in the grill of your opponent's units, knowing that the idea is that, all right, I need to survive as long as the HP of this Barb Hut will give me and of those 2 Barbarians because I know it's going to go off the board. You're spending so much elixir to just kind of extend your life than to actually really get anything going.
And you see the Knight cycle to the left to be threatening Graveyard that direction. And, you know, it did feel like that Graveyard on the right-hand side, it felt like the right-hand side was going to go down no matter what, but really not sure if RF thought about pressuring the opposite lane for a second, then thought the better of it. Either way, a tough situation for the God RF and a good one for Bale, who now is 1 game away from a King of the Hill sweep and sending his team into the 3rd and final.
Yeah, King of the Hill sweep over Space Station Gaming, which is a really, really large accomplishment, a substantial accomplishment, if you will. So Bale now 1 more in the way, and that will be Lapakati. Yeah, the God RF, just trouble there at the bridge. Mega Knight really being the X factor for Bale, along with some really, really great patience. And of course, that Barbarian Hut, it can be great early on, but when you're using it as kind of a last-ditch effort in defense, it's so much elixir spent. So Bale and Lindsay still left here for Dignitas. Lapakati, last man up for Space Station in this 2nd set.
I think Bale has to finish this set here. I really think that he does. I don't like Lindsay versus Lapakati for Dignitas. I mean, I don't like anyone against Lapakati most of the time. The kid can play his heart out. But I don't like Lindsay against Lapakati. Lindsay does not have the confidence that Lapakati has right now. I think Bale needs to get the win here if Dig's going to have a chance to move on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and you also want to keep that confidence riding high for Bale because he's most likely the guy that you're going to bring into that 3rd and final set.
And there's an easy King Tower activation, and Lapo playing Mortar. What else does everybody want to see? Shout out Fake Lapo game.
Feeling real good about this. I've been seeing this very interesting Mortar deck online. Firecracker Skeletons with Tornado Knight in there as well. Very, very fast cycle here from Lapakati. So not only is it Mortar, but it's also Mortar with fast cycle.
Firecracker, not seen that much these days, and woof, back to a Mortar again. Unbelievable.
Yeah, just like that. I really do enjoy the Firecracker as a card, especially in these Mortar decks. So Mortar going to get a couple shots in.
Yeah, you weren't lying about that cycle, Andrew. Oh, boy.
It's insane. I mean, you look at it, so many cards for so cheap. You're able to get all the way back around when you've got 3 cards for 2-1. That's 5 elixir to play 3 cards. Insane.
1529 right-hand side. So far, a nice opening for the Belarusian, who has been, again, the word cheeky's been used a bit today, and, you know, no more cheek than using Igor's deck against him in that really fun Double Spirit Royal Giant deck. And you see here, again, going fast cycle in a situation where he can pull off a lot of fun stuff very quickly.
Well, there you go. Fishman cycled to the left, gonna not be in the spot for that mortar. Mega Knight has to come down as well. High Knight, look at that positioning on the Knight, guys. A really crucial positioning there because it's gonna get the Knight to leap over and help the mortar stay on the board. So that's why that Electro Wizard has to come down, which is not really what Bale wants to do with his E-Wiz, setting it right into that Firecracker. Mortar down again, Rich.
And everything is tanking for this Firecracker right now. You know, one of the complaints that pros have a lot is how difficult it is to get to the Firecracker. Well, you're seeing it here. Forced to poison at the bridge is Bale.
Yeah, so Bale plays that Fisherman offset to the right. So Lapo goes, okay, if I can't play a Mortar, then I guess I'll start my Cycle. So look at this dirty Mortar Earthquake deck with Tornado, and that Tornado becomes really frustrating when you talk about what that Firecracker can do.
Yeah, I thought for a second that Lapo might get real aggressive there and try to pull the Mega Knight back for a lock, but not time for the aggression yet. Instead, plays it safe and is firmly in control as we go into sudden death. Lapacati with a big lead and certainly controlling the momentum overall of this game, and goes Mortar in the middle this time.
But you talk about how quick the cycle is. You've got that Earthquake in there to deal with Barb Huts or defensive buildings, of course, because they're so popular in the meta. And then, when you talk about dealing with a graveyard, being able to set that line high. You get a Firecracker off to the left side even, and then you get Spear Goblins up behind your Princess Tower. You wait for a spell to come out, and then you can still drop Skeletons to help out. This is a Mortar deck that is built firmly and directly for this meta.
And nice control here. Smart move. Lapo goes ahead and defensive Mortars here with the Knight high to control. And this is a mature game out of Lapacati. Might get a couple shots here. No, Bar Barrel does counter those Spear Goblins. This is a very mature game from Lapacati. We're talking again about composure and playing very composed right now, not trying to run his way to the win in the final moments.
I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure after watching Lapo for as long as we have, his great joys in the game come from spell cycling towers out. He loves doing it so much. He plays high cycle decks with soft spells for a reason. It's because he is so good at controlling the cycle and keeping track of his opponent's win conditions. But right now, a little bit of trouble. High Knight comes in again. That high cycle ability is going to be very, very strong for this deck, but not enough. Earthquake comes in. Lapacati doing it with spells once again.
Yeah, Bale not going to go ahead and get the King of the Hill sweep. Of course, did do his job, got 2 outs, but as we said before, Andrew, it does feel like Dig needed to win this one to be able to extend it. We'll, of course, see game number 5, King of the Hill, coming up next, but I do not like Lindsay's chances with how confident Lapacati is right now.
Yeah, I have to agree, and that's another reason why I think they put Lapo in that closing spot when they're up 1 set. He knows that even if he does lose, there's another entire set for either him or Samuel to come out. So give the kid a position to get a lot of confidence writing and to go into that 1v1 set, because he has been in it a good amount of times. And I've got to be honest with you, Rich, I'm very excited to try this Mortar deck out. I've seen it on the Grand Challenge boards, and I think I've even seen a post from Lapacati as he was talking about climbing ladder. But now to actually see it in play, in battle, very strong and very tough to keep up with.
Yeah, this is overall just well controlled, and I love the, you saw 3 different ideas from Mortar, right? Really high cycle pressuring in single elixir, and then moving the Mortar a little bit just to create some different looks to the middle as we got to the second phase of the game. And then once he got the lead, rotating to defensive Mortars and controlling high. You saw Lapo really play this game in 3 distinctive phases and play it very well, and that's why we're going to game number 5.
Yeah, that's a really, really great thing you point out, Rich, because one thing that's going to happen with this deck that Lapacati's playing, just by looking at it on paper, as you get into double and triple elixir time, you're really going to struggle with having a tank available at all times. Even if you're able to cycle back around to that Knight, you never want to have to drop him in front of a massive swarm of units that are already on the board. So the ability to play that Mortar as another ground tank unit defensively is really, really imperative when you get into double and triple, especially against a deck that has Mega Knight in it. I really love that you called that out, because it is something that a lot of Mortar players might struggle with. If I've been doing so well playing this one way for 4 minutes, why can't I win in that last minute? It's because you've got to utilize that Mortar as a defensive ground unit. Don't worry about it as an offensive unit anymore. Well,
you really saw the value of the Mortar Knight combination played there a lot, Andrew. You saw the Knight able to tank early on in terms of distracting the Mega Knight, but then also the same thing setting the line high in the later phase. So much like Mortar Skeleton Barrel, which has Mortar Skeleton Barrel and Spear Goblins, mind you, same sort of idea here where they were all playing similar roles, although in this one, of course, the Mortar with the EQ cycle doing a little bit more offensive work than in that Skeleton Barrel deck.
Yeah, so if you don't have a large spell to deal with these massive amounts of troop coming across the bridge, then how do you deal with it? Well, you've got the Firecracker there to give some great penetrating splash damage, and you've got the Mortar as a unit that provides splash damage almost like a spell when you've got something tanking for it. So here we go, game number 5. Lince up for Dignitas, back against the wall. Lapacati looking to close them out and move even higher up in the standings.
Can Lince win this one? Absolutely. If I'm a betting man, who am I betting on? Let's mortgage the house and put that on Lapo.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely sell out on Lapo here. It just feels like it'll be a surprise if Lince does win this. And like you said, he definitely can do it. It's just Lapo has been playing very well this season.
Well, Lince is going to go with something that's pretty central meta right now. And we've seen Lapo now in back-to-back situations against Igor, and now here in the last King of the Hill game we just saw, go with stuff that's just a little bit more outplayability and a little bit less predictable, a little bit less just like something you see 1,000 times a day. Now, is Lapo going to change that script on me just as I'm talking about it? Potentially. But it's one of those things that makes him a more versatile player than the guys he's up against.
But that's the thing, Rich, is when he does change the script, as you said, going to a on-meta deck is surprising, right? Like something this firmly in the meta, something, oh, well, we've seen Baby Dragon, Barb Hut, Mega Minion, and Barb Barrel maybe 50 times today. When you see Lapo come out with that, it is always a bit of a surprise because of the things you're just talking about. He loves those high cycle, slightly off-meta decks.
You know, I gotta wonder how many times Lince has run Royal Giant this season, because it does feel like Lapacati going with the Barb Hut and a lot of the single target DPS here between the Mega Minion and the Knight might be expecting that matchup.
Yeah, and we know exactly what these cheap graveyard pushes can look like, whether it's Mega Minion, Barb Barrel, or Knight. With that graveyard, it makes it very, very difficult to get a big supportive push behind that Royal Giant.
And now Barb Hut down one more time for Lapacati. 58 seconds left. Mega Knight goes to the left-hand side. So looking like it's going to be Ram Rider instead, most likely. No, Graveyard. Okay, here we go.
The Graveyard and Poison in as well. Electro Dragon in, or excuse me, Electro Wizard in the back. Soaking up that poison, but also helping out with those skeletons, so a high Baby Dragon comes in. Lot of Graveyard.
Lot of Graveyard. Well, we'll see how much that holds on as the shift or the nerf to Graveyard comes in, or the change in how those skeletons do spawn. We'll be very curious to see what effect that has overall on the Graveyard heavy meta we've been seeing.
Lince setting up for a big push on the right. Lapo recognizes, he goes right in for a push on the left, but that Fisherman not played in the spot he wanted. I think he was looking to pull the Knight away, but instead actually goes and pulls the Barbarian away from that Barbarian Hut. And just like that, Lapo in a commanding lead. Space Station looking to close him out.
12-11 left-hand side, 1580 right-hand side. Lince trying to hold on, goes with the Mega Knight high. Hunter on the Baby Dragon, Fisherman on the Ewiz, and a healthy little counter push starting to build here potentially.
Yeah, a healthy push here for Lince. Of course, Lapo does have that poison to play on defense, and really what it's going to be all about is keeping that Mega Knight under control. If you can play the poison on the back end, you just got to make sure that Mega Knight doesn't leak to tower on the front.
Final 90 seconds on its way. Graveyard's going left, going right, going left, going right for Lapacati. Mega Knight trying to stop everything high, but that Baby Dragon already pretty deep in enemy territory.
Lince, though, putting something together here. You see that Mega Knight going into the right-hand lane, obviously, because that's where he wants to work, but that's also why Lapo's been going to the opposite side. Heal Spirit comes in, sets everything back to 0, and a great push coming in for Lince.
Knight working on the Ewiz right now. Fisherman goes away from the Knight, and Lapacati easily puts all that to bed.
Yeah, Mega Minion just so dominant. One of the best 3 Elixir cards in the game. Been around for so long, been used so often, it's almost like Mega Minion gets forgotten about here and there. But when you talk about focusing on these ground-only troops, Mega Minion is almost unparalleled.
Well, I mean, you look at the way that Lince is being forced to use his poison, and you understand the advantage for Lapacati right now, because he's kind of being forced to use his poison high and inside to deal with Barbs, deal with Barb Hut. And, you know, you have a poison on a baby dragon, not going to do a whole lot. It allows Lapacati to easily spread out his defense and defend against these graveyards.
Yeah, poison up high, drop the Knight late after the Barb Hut goes down, Barb Barrel in to get on top, and there it is, Knight late, Barb Barrel in on top of that Hunter, and just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I've still got a 500 HP cushion, says Lindsay, so what does Lapo do? All right, now that there's very little time left, I'm gonna go back on offense, make sure you can't sell out on the right, and I'm gonna win this game for Spacestation Gaming.
And a nice win there for Lapo, once again clutching up in King of the Hill. And he's had a fantastic season doing what you just saw right now.
Yeah, Lapacati playing incredible. King of the Hill win rate going to be above 70% now on the season. Head-to-head win rate going to be above 80%, I believe, on the season as well. And Lapacati doing it all for Spacestation Gaming, but let's not forget, Samuel picked up a win today, a great win to start off King of the Hill, and then Okrap and the God RF picking up 2-0 in 2v2. All 4 representatives for Spacestation Gaming firing on all cylinders and moving them well up in the standings. Let me make a check here. I believe they are going to be in 2nd place now, Rich. I got to confirm. We're waiting on the update, and we're going to get standings in just a minute, but no surprises after their success.
Yeah, I think Tribe might have the head-to-head advantage there, so we'll see from League Operations in just a minute. But either way, they keep themselves in the running for one of those top 2 spots, and we'll get into all the prognostications and scenarios as we enter into our final discussions moving towards week number 8. But this was the story of the game, Andrew. Just really excellent control from Lapacati, and the Mega Knight Graveyard never able to really get working together to create significant damage. And again, it was the poison being forced to play in ways that Lindsay didn't want to play it.
Yeah, and just a really great job of, as you said, controlling that Mega Knight, always having the Barbarians deal with him on the front end, getting the DPS on top, getting the Knight down late, and then by that point, when you've got the Barbarians, then the Barbarians coming from the dead Barb Hut, and then the Knight played, there's no way that Mega Knight's still going to be on the board unless you're not attacking it. So all of those coming in to keep the ground battle in Lapo's favor. Every single one of these gentlemen picking up a crown at least today. Samuel, Okrap, Lapacati, and the God RF for Space Station Gaming. And yes, Tribe does have the head-to-head win over Space Station, so looks like it's going to be 1, 2, 3 SK Tribe and SSG with just a little bit of time left before we get to our playoffs.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting and compelling last couple of days, Andrew. Space Station, or SK Gaming, has Cream Royale Betis tomorrow, a match that Cream is perfectly capable of winning.
Yeah.
If that happens, we have a 3-way tie at 6-2, and then suddenly Space Station has 2 different squads who could lose in the final week and open up a spot in the top 3. But right now, what has to happen for Space Station, they have to win next weekend and hope that either SK or Tribe Gaming open a door they can step through.
You know what one of the most astounding things about SK Gaming is, Rich, is that they went 10-0 over Tribe and SSG back-to-back with the King of the Hill sweep from Javi and one from Sam. 10-0 against the number 2 and number 3 squads, chomping at their bits, nipping at their heels, but SK Gaming has already put both of them handedly in their place. And am I disconnected? No? Okay, never mind. Looks like we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but that's the beauty of being online. And as I was saying, SK Gaming, back-to-back wins over Tribe and SSG, 10-0. So that's something that you really have to kind of pay attention to as we move forward into the season. Obviously, with playoff implications coming right around the corner, and Rich correcting me there with the head-to-head between Tribe and SSG, SK firmly in that number 1 spot, a dominant force this season. And so right now we are waiting for Rich to come back, but we're also getting ready to hop into our standings and, of course, talk a little bit about our matches that are coming up tomorrow. Some big ones there. Obviously, the first one of the day going to be a little bit less exciting if you're talking about playoffs, but obviously still a lot of great talent there on the screen when you talk about Team Liquid going up against Misfits Gaming. And then, of course, their second match of the day that Rich was just talking about, which kind of got me on this tangent about SK, is going to be SK facing off against Cream, a match that can definitely pop in their favor. Rich, I saw some thumbs up. Is that happiness?
Yeah,
you're back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm here. Just you spill some rage on the old router over there, and again, it turns into a problem. So here we
No.
are back for the final moments, and I don't know if we've gone on to our next matches yet. And oh yeah, taking a look at those standings, Andrew, I believe what you were talking about was all the crazy stuff that we're going to see happening on the final. I mean, we're coming down to the wire here. Dig not eliminated officially, but certainly wanted the win today. But we still have so much to decide going into our final weekend.
Yeah, that vacated win from Pain hurting all the more now in that 6th place spot and hanging on. Cream Real Betis right in front of them for now, but they do have a big match against SK tomorrow. Team Queso, SSG, and Tribe all went today. SSG and Tribe coming out on top, both 6-2, but as Rich said, head-to-head going in favor of Tribe. SK 6-1, dominating Tribe, dominating SSG, but still only 1 game ahead is our first place squad.
Well, if you're Spacestation Gaming, you are really hoping, of course, that SK loses tomorrow against Cream Real Betis, which they totally could. Cream is capable of taking the win off of SK Gaming. But then it comes down to a really tough situation where Spacestation next weekend has Team Queso, Tribe has Pain, and SK has Team Liquid. So, you're looking at that one, and you give Tribe versus Pain right now about a 50-50 matchup. That's a coin flip. You give SK a pretty significant advantage over Team Liquid, but Spacestation does not necessarily run right through Team Queso. So it becomes a kind of challenging question overall whether Spacestation, they will clearly make it into playoffs, but they are not in control of their own destiny for that first round bye.
Yeah, not at all, not by any means. So yeah, Team Liquid Misfits kicking things off tomorrow, closing things out. A very important match for Cream and SK, honestly, even though they're still going to be safe. They're at the top. Interesting day. Predictions went the way I think that most of us had said. Obviously, Bruno there picking Team Queso in the first matchup, not really working out for him, but very, very interesting day. And when Rich, as you said, talking about the matches coming up next weekend, it is crazy to think about playoffs. So you just saw our standings. You just saw the matches that we're going to see tomorrow. Now let's talk a little bit of business. You guys hanging out with us on YouTube, you're hanging out on Twitch, you better have those notifications turned on. You saw today a lot of quick matches. You don't want to miss anything. So those notifications have to be turned on Twitch and on YouTube. How did you do today when it comes to Fantasy Royale? Did you have Lapo? Did you have Sweep? Who knows? Did you have TNT? Those are a lot of the big hitters today. Fantasy Royale, 250,000 gold, 100 gems, and of course, the last thing we got to shout out, our boy, Rockstar, bringing home the W. Break time battles. Very, very well played by our fans out there. Great job getting there on the leaderboards. Again, our #1 spot gets to face off against a pro or someone in the community. So make sure if you're in that spot, you got to let us know. You got to reach out to us. Where are you? I can't even remember what his name was. TA something. You were first place. You deserve to play against Rockstar. So let us know. Maybe we can get you in for that next break time battle.
Yeah, and we've seen some upsets happen so far in break time battles, so
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And of course, here we're getting to cast a little bit on those ones as well, so having some fun with those. Guys, it's been a crazy season so far, and we're down to our second to last Sunday. Big ones tomorrow, and of course, big ones. One thing we haven't talked about, Andrew, is what do you think about for MVP today?
MVP for me today, I think I have to go with Sweep. It just felt like it was his coming out party today. He played so well against Kevin Pompeo and Diego. It was a massively important win for Pain Gaming. He gets my vote for today.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. So congratulations, Pain Gaming, and those of you who are going to be eating candy tonight, just make sure you stop before the stomach starts to hurt, because that's no fun. For Andrew Guy, I'm Rich Slayton. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.